What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 330 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course, viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's KB, it's DJ. We got a lot to dive into. We've got an awesome home and home series with our boys from the Boston Battery Podcast, the official supporter group of the Boston Cannons, as it is their homecoming week this weekend. So we will be diving into that. We're going to recap everything from Minnesota and what a weekend it was. We're going to get into everything that you guys need to send you into the holiday weekend. But before we get into all of it, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod across the board. Connect with Underground Sports Philadelphia on LinkedIn as well. Follow DJ on Twitter at SCS_next great. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form, but those two in particular, because we get those direct analytics, those numbies, and we can see how we're growing, and we want to hit new milestones. It allows us to do more dope stuff with and for you guys. So keep on subscribing. We've been seeing some new subscribers come through over the past couple of weeks, so shout out to all the new members of OTB Nation. Keep on subscribing. Be a friend. Tell a friend to subscribe to the pod. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia and Outside the Box podcast YouTube channels. YouTube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia is where you get full video episodes of this show every single week, plus full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. And YouTube.com/@OTB LaxPod is where you get original Outside the Box podcast content, any of our live shows. We're going to try to start putting interviews over there as well from episodes of the show so you can kind of see them by themselves. But you also get fun clips like DJ's 20-minute transfer portal clip condensed in 60 seconds. YouTube.com/@OTB LaxPod. Let's get to like 30 subscribers over there over the weekend. Let's make that happen. We're at 23 on the OTB YouTube. Let's get to 900 subscribers on the main channel as well. We're at 812 as we're recording this. We had a nice little surge of like 3 new subscribers come through in like a 30-minute period. I was like, okay, something's cooking. Go subscribe to our YouTube channels. And of course, guys, this show is presented proudly by our good friends and the amazing people over at Shootout for Soldiers. They've got a big time event coming up in the next couple of weeks on Long Island, followed by Canandaigua. Register for both of those events. If you have the ability to go to one or both, register for those events. The registry link is linked in the description of both audio and video episodes of this show. So go and register. And Shootout for Soldiers, they just announced their full-fledged partnership with PLL CIS, which is awesome. We love seeing that for our homies at Shootout for Soldiers and PLL CIS team as well, who support this show big time. But Shootout for Soldiers, their mission is to use lacrosse as a platform to support American veterans and foster community engagement. With a decade of dedicated collaboration from local communities, lacrosse players, and the U.S. military, Shootout for Soldiers has emerged as a highly regarded industry partner, offering an unmissable and eagerly anticipated event that has empowered communities, raising millions together. It was established in 2012 as a high school project by our guy Tyler Steinhardt, an OG supporter of this podcast, might I add. This event has experienced remarkable growth in both reach and impact, raising over $5 million to champion veteran service organizations with unwavering dedication to their mission. Along with that over $5 million raised, they've had over 7,500 attendees and over 2,500 players in their events. Shootout for Soldiers Long Island is going down July 12th. So definitely register for that. It's going to be an all-time weekend. It's one of their biggest events of the year. So go register for Long Island, go register for Canandaigua, register for Virginia, for Baltimore. Check out their entire season schedule and how you can get involved. Donate to Shoot Out for Soldiers. If you can't make it to a weekend, there's the ability to donate, but check out everything on their website. It's linked in the description. And big thank you to Shoot Out for Soldiers for being the presenting sponsor of the Outside the Box podcast. Deej, we had ourselves quite a week for Minnesota. I was busy during the first game of the weekend at our guy Jamil Demby's 4th annual youth football camp. We have an interview with him coming out on the main pod this week as well. Wild success. I was around a couple NFL players there, which was pretty cool as well. Jamil had his ring with him from the Super Bowl. And I got home just in time to catch those Boston Cannons and the Utah Archers game, and then I was locked in for the rest of the weekend. I know you were coaching all weekend. How'd everything go down on the coaching front?
Well, it was an interesting weekend. Mark McNeil got the best of me.
Did you actually coach against Mark McNeil?
Yes.
Nice. You can always say you coached against Mark McNeil. You had a coaching chess match against a former PLL pro.
And damn it, I almost won. And you know what? There were 2 really bad calls in this game. The first, one of my kids scores. The the ref starts to raise his hands to signify goal. And my kid runs through the crease and he says no goal because he stepped in the crease. I'm like, buddy, the ball's already behind the goal line. That's a goal. Took the goal away. The other one, we're in the ride. I have a kid standing still at half field. I mean, still at the midline. He gets run over and they called him for a cross check. They went on to score on the man up that ended up being the difference maker in the game. If we even tied them, we move on to the playoffs, not them. They ended up winning the tournament. So all I'm hearing is we were supposed to win the tournament and we got cheated out of it. Probably because he's Mark McNeil. But
dang, doing Mark McNeil dirty like that.
What were they going to do? Let the pro lose to some dudes from Kalamazoo? All right.
Let the pro lose to the podcaster?
Man, bro, like, come on.
That's what, bro.
I got to be realistic.
To use your terminology that you stole from Jimmy Neutron, brain blast. We need to come together. This is a call out to TLN, the homies. We need to sit in a meeting and make this happen because this would be electric in some sort of fashion, whether it's a skills competition or whatever. We need to have like pros versus Joes back in the day. We need to have pros versus podcasters. We gotta have pros versus podcasters go down.
In a real game?
No, like I'm saying, like skills competition, like how it was in like pros versus Joes.
Okay, I was gonna say because
that would be a series.
I'm down for that.
You get Pelkey, you get Jordy, Dukes, Nest, you get Connor Eck, Scotty, Diggs, Brian.
We got some options out here.
This could be something. That just popped in my brain when you said they're going to have the pro lose to somebody from Kalamazoo. Pros versus podcast. That is copyright trademark. Outside the Box podcast 2024. All rights reserved. TLN, let's have a meeting.
If you want to be a part of it, I mean, hit us up.
Let's have a meeting. Mike, Paul, the city of Louisville, how we doing? That needs to be something somewhere at some point. There's enough podcasters where it could happen / like influencers, and there's enough pros that I feel like that would be down to be part of it to make it happen.
Oh, easily. I don't even think it's that hard to put together a group realistically.
It would be electric.
I
We
mean,
gotta
hey,
make that happen.
hit us up.
We gotta make that happen. There's the social clip for the week. Pros versus podcasters coming to a city near you.
Knock that out right out the way. Check mark.
Bingo. But Deej, Minnesota was awesome. I know you were coaching during a majority of it. I don't know if you were able to catch up on anything that went down in Minneapolis, but our Minnesota
Sadly.
recap is brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. If you want to stand out the crowd when you're going to a PLL weekend, whether you're taking reps in the backyard, shooting around with the homies, playing a little street lacrosse, whatever it may be, rep OTB across your chest with the awesome official Outside the Box podcast merch. Plus, if you're a Philly sports fan, we've got you covered as well to rep your favorite Philly sports teams and Philadelphia-centric merch. Go to phiapparel.co so you can stand out in the crowd. And when you go to checkout, use code UNDERGROUND to get 10% off your order from our merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. That's 10% off with code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co on your next merch order. Minnesota was awesome, Deej. A lot of incredible stories and games and moments. I do want to start things off because it kind of came from the question that I asked our guy, Kyle Jackson, and it's been making the rounds everywhere. And it was one of those moments in a press conference that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Hey, hold on. Shout out to you, dog. You had a time in the press conferences this weekend.
I did have a press conference.
You did your thing in the pressers.
I had a Hall of Fame press conference weekend.
Definitely, because they got you swirling around a couple times,
man,
this weekend. So just had to give you your props and flowers in the time because you definitely deserve it. Now you can return to right where you were.
But yeah, I do want to lead off, this portion of the pod sending from me and my family and from us here at OTB and Underground Sports Philadelphia, all our love and condolences to the Fagenbaum Jackson family. KJ, his wife Dana, they lost Dana's grandfather passed away over the weekend. Almost 99 years old. His 99th birthday would have been August 1st. An absolute legend. I've known Dana and Kyle for like 6.5 years now. Dana is the reason that this podcast jump started the way that it did because she gave us our very first credentials ever and will forever be linked to our company for that. And our friendship has just been something I cherish big time, and getting to know KJ obviously through Dana and him coming on the show. He has done so much for us. It almost felt like fitting that KJ was comfortable enough and vulnerable enough to open up that way in the press conference to a question that I asked him. And I want to thank him for that. It's always tough losing somebody, and as much of an anchor as Dana's grandfather was and will continue to be to their family, I know that was it's been a tough go for Dana and their whole family, for Tatum and Tegan, Kyle and Dana's daughters, and I just want to send them so much love from us here at OTB and from our entire company, because Dana and Kyle are two people that I cherish and value our friendship a ton, and they're two very special people to me personally. They're two very special people to us, just as a podcast, and what Kyle does for the lacrosse community is second to none. And just want to say we love you guys, and sending you all of our best and all of our love.
I mean, once a Michigan man, always a Michigan man. So KJ will, always be a little bit special to me just for that retrospect in its own. And we always take care of each other. So not only me, but continue to reach out to the big blue that it is, and let the victors have your back in this situation when you need it. But of course, take your time and just sending positivity and love in a time that nobody can really understand. We all can lose someone a loved one in some way, but nobody feels the emotions that you feel in that time. Maybe similar, but not the same. So just take your time to do what you need to do, and for the whole family to really just be okay. But lean on the sport of lacrosse like always, because it truly is the medicine game, as you talked about and showed this weekend.
Yeah, it was a very awesome way to kind of find the beauty and irony with how KJ kind of just like answered that question from me. And it was definitely like a moment that like I'll remember for a very long time. And obviously there's like that personal friendship connection that I have with those two that like plays into it. But it was such a like powerful and profound moment that it was like, that's all we need from this press conference. And that was kind of the final question from that one. And um, it was a powerful press conference for sure that will leave a lasting mark on me for a while, if not forever. But big love to KJ and Dana. You guys are the best. And yeah, the rest of the weekend was awesome. There was a lot of awesome stories and moments. You know, Zed starts off the game with a wooden stick. As Zed Williams, if there was anybody who was going to do it, it was going to be Zed Williams. I thought that was an awesome touch from him in that first game between the Whipsnakes and Atlas. You had our guy Ryan Ambler and I believe it was Grant and one other teammate. I forget who Ryan said in the press conference, but they uh, partook in a what they call a smudge, which is a traditional like Native American ceremony where you are holding a pipe and they kind of like graze you with eagle wings and eagle feathers to kind of like let loose and get rid of any bad energy and really like focus you in. I thought that was a really cool moment as well that Ryan was able to talk about in one of the press conferences after their game against the Cannons. And you know, I do want to make it a mission to one day go to Minnesota weekend because I feel like the PLL has done such a great job of capturing the beauty of the sport and making it such a like pillar weekend, even though this weekend was the first time it was a neutral site, quote unquote, weekend. They've made it into like Minnesota, that's Indigenous Heritage Weekend. And I thought it was just such a great, it was the best one yet. And that's watching it from afar. I can't even imagine how it was on site. The jerseys across the board looked beautiful on TV. I can't imagine what they looked like in person. Um, and it was just an all around like awesome weekend, great games, start to finish, a lot of headlines, a lot of storylines that came out of this one. The Atlas lose their first game of the season to the Whipsnakes 16-12. The Cannons battle back and beat the Archers 14-9. The Redwoods started hot and then fizzled out, and the Outlaws kept their momentum rolling on ESPN2 and got scrappy for sure. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the Waterdogs get on the board for the very first time, get their first win under Coach Tyranny end of 2024 and beat Chaos 10-6. Very reminiscent of 2022, boys. Let's keep the good vibes rolling. That was a great game, though. Even though it was low scoring, it was very fun as the game progressed. But the one game that I missed, but I kind of like caught up on highlights was that Whipsnakes Atlas game. And who would have thought, not every team is invincible, and the Whipsnakes keep their momentum going and get a big time win and a statement win, if you will, at this point in the year, because I feel like a lot of the general fandom and consensus was like, oh, the Atlas are just going to roll everybody in their path. And, we did it in our pick segment and they hadn't given us up to that point a reason to pick against them. But kudos to the Whipsnakes and those young whips stepping up, those 4 young guys on that squad playing key parts in a huge win for them this season.
I was able to catch up on that game, but I'm not surprised. To me, that comes down to veteranism. And when you look at it, the Whip Snakes are the most veteran team in the league, both players and coaching staff wise, outside of Drew Snyder. And another thing is, I feel like Drew is really stepping into his role now. You're starting to see the offense really come together with the vision that he has in mind. I don't think it's quite where he wants it to be yet, but over the last couple of weeks, you're really seeing the offense start to flow, the ball move around, and they're really starting to find guys and matchups that they like. So that's something I really wanted to point out. But realistically, this comes down to Stags and the OGs on the team knowing what to do and when to do it. And they also did this against a young team and a young coaching staff that is learning those things in terms of the PLL and how they work. So I think both these teams have a solid chance of continuing to progress, but I believe they see each other again. No, they don't. Sorry, they don't. They played twice already. And it was nice for them to split 1-1. I think it leaves the door open for a lot down the road.
Yeah, if they do see each other again, it would be in the playoffs if it lines up that way. But I was saying, the young boys stepped up for the Whip Snakes. The 4 young guys on the team: TJ Malone, Levi Anderson, Poitras, and Jack Corus led the team in scoring. They were their top 5, and then of course it was fitting that Zed Williams was number 5 on the list. TJ Malone was sensational, shot almost 43% in this game, had a hat trick. Levi Anderson was a force in his first game in the PLL, 2 goals, 1 assist, shot 40%. Poitras had 2 goals, shot 40%. Jack Corus shot 50% and had 2 goals. Zed Williams shot 50%, had 2 goals of his own. So to have your top 5 guys shooting 40% or better, on the stat sheet, that's a formula for success from an offensive perspective. And to see, 4 of those 5 guys are rookies is pretty impressive. And I think those guys and Stags has talked about it not only last year, but a lot this year too. Like, they had to get younger, they had to get more athletic. And I think those 4 guys, and, they put the graphic out about them this week as well. Those 4 guys are going to contribute to that. And to have those 4 in the fold and letting them kind of grow together and play together for the duration of this season, and what I'm sure Stags is hoping beyond, is going to be pivotal for like that next era of what the Whip Snakes want to be. And I also got to give a tip of the cap to friend of the program, recurring guest, our guy Joe Nardella got his first goal of the season too, and it's great to see Joe Nardella being #back.
Oh, chill out. This backpack stuff.
Don't-
He never left. He was just hurt.
Exactly. He's back. He's scoring. He's not only facing off, he's scoring now.
People need to stop doing
Don't
that.
slander Joe Nardella.
No,
don't slander a friend of the pod, bro.
I'm not slandering him. I'm slandering the people and their usage of this word. That needs to refer to people who have just fallen off. That's it. You're only back if you fell off.
We were afraid that his knee was going to fall off.
Oh my God. Stop it. He was great during NLL, so I didn't expect anything to happen in the PLL. Nothing.
Well, he hasn't played under the 32 seconds either.
Oh, stop it. You're moving the goalpost.
I'm
the people need to chill.
I'm standing on business for my guy.
He was going to be back, and we all knew it.
It's clear that you're not a Joe Nardella guy.
Oh, whoa. Don't even do that.
That's what it's coming across as.
Do you have a Nardella jersey?
I have something that nobody has, and that is a phone call record.
Do you have a Nardella
from Joe Nardella?
Do you have
in the bubble as his team was going undefeated?
Do you have
on their way to a championship?
Do you have a Nardella jersey?
No, because I have a theory.
I do. So don't tell me I'm not a Nardella guy.
Let me finish.
I am.
I have a theory that if I get jerseys of my guys while they're still on their current teams or in the league, they get traded or they go bad, and I don't want to curse one of our guys.
That's fine, but I do. I have a Nardella jersey, so don't tell me I'm not a Nardella guy.
Well, can you just say on the record that you're a Joe Nardella guy?
I've already said that 1,000 times.
Can you just say it for the people? I want to use it as a drop.
People just heard me say I'm a Joe Nardella guy. You need to just chill.
You said it. I just needed to use it as a sound bite.
All I'm saying is the people out there use back too much. Joe
that's why I used hashtag back.
No,
the first back is in all caps.
It's the same thing. It's
He
the same
also
thing.
he also liked the tweet that said hashtag all caps back. So
I mean, of
he
course
knows.
he would. He's our guy. Of course
Doesn't
he's gonna
have
like our
to,
tweets.
but he didn't have to do that.
But our
he
guys
did.
do.
But he did, and
But
that's why he's our guy.
I'm not doing this with you, dog. Look, I'm already a low key a little jacked up. If y'all haven't noticed, I just wasn't on Twitter this weekend. It was for a reason, not just because I was coaching.
Are you backed up?
Nah, bro. No, I'm just
Backed up?
livid.
Are you backed
because
up?
I'm fans of the worst team in the league.
Oh,
I'm a fan of the worst team in the league.
You went a little digital on
And
us.
not because they're not actually good enough. Am I back?
You're back.
I must not be back.
No, you are.
All I'm saying is I'm a fan of the worst team in the league.
We'll get to them. But shout out to the Whips. Big time win for them, and we'll see this week how will we see? Yes, we'll see this week how the New York Atlas Bulls bounce back after their first loss of the year. The Cannons, big time win against the Archers, 14-9. I don't know how I felt about. I don't know if you saw it. Joe Keegan said Graham Hossack is the only player or defender in the league that can. I want to get the terminology correct because I didn't fully agree with the terminology that our guy used. I want to see if I can find it here. But Graham Hossack is back, and it was great watching him play lacrosse again because he was sensational in his first game, returning for the Archers after being on the holdout list. It was quite the game that, we were watching one-on-ones before we started recording, and I kind of agreed with Paul in this game in particular where Chris Bates moved Grant Ament up to attack in the second half of this game where he was kind of cooking out of the midfield, and I didn't really agree with that decision. You obviously want to get your guy who's on a heater going as much as possible, especially with Grant, who, we've seen have injury history and, not be able to have games like he did. But I didn't really agree with the choice of moving him up to attack, just the way the flow of the game was going. Like going into halftime, it was tied, and then you didn't create much offense in the second half, which was a bummer. And you allowed the Cannons to set a PLL record with most 2-pointers scored in a single game, according to our guy Joe Keegan. 5 2-pointers is the most in a single game. The Cannons scored more 2-pointers than they did 1-point goals in this one. It was a 2-bomb parade from the Cannons, and it was fascinating to watch. And I get where Chris Bates was coming from, saying, we scored the same amount of goals. Obviously, some of those goals for the Cannons were worth more, but to allow 5 2-pointers is tough, and they didn't have any to kind of combat it of their own. And then on the Archers front as well, it was nice to see Mike Sisselberger have a bounce back game in this one for the Archers and kind of just get back to the Sis that we know and love. But yeah, this game was interesting, and it just shows the depth and the creativity that this Cannons roster has. And when you have Ryan Drenner launching 2 bombs, you're in for it in a game like that. And Coach Holman even said it. He didn't know he had that in his bag per se. And Matt Campbell was sensational in this game, led the team in scoring. Coach Holman joked that it was the most he's ever heard Matt Campbell talk, which was in this press conference. And that's why he was the player of the week this week too in the league. And I think Matt Campbell just continues to showcase why he's one of the, not only one of the best midfielders, but one of the best players in the PLL. I think his game is just so underrated, and he's just so much fun to watch.
I love Matt Campbell. It's more about he's like Coach said, he doesn't talk a lot. He's just a silent killer. He's a guy who just goes out and plays good ball, stretches the offense, always seems to make the right play, the right move. And I think that's huge. Like you said, anytime you can get Drenner pulling up from deep and it goes in, you're in for a treat. I think they had an amazing game, and those 2-pointers are really starting to point out his dividends in this season. We see it being a big deal with the Waterdogs in their first 3 games and them actually losing, even though they probably should have won those games due to not making 2-pointers, but giving up 2-pointers. Romar was kind of able to keep the Woods in the game, which we'll talk about a little bit later, with 2-pointers this weekend. Cannons win this game basically solely off of having 2-pointers. So I think that's something that this game really showed, is that 2-pointers are really standing out this season in different ways for different teams. But they're really kind of standing out for everybody across the board. Whether you're taking them or not, and whether you're hitting them or not, they're affecting everyone in the game. So I think that's kind of something to keep an eye on as well. But this game was, for what I caught of it, was very exciting to watch. Lots of back and forth and lots of just good offense, which I figured this would be. When we talked about it last week, was a lot of good offense going against defenses that were figuring it out. And that's exactly what happened.
I found the tweet from Joe Keegan. He said Graham Hossack is the only pole in the league who can cover Asher Nolting. I wouldn't say he's the only pole in the league who can cover him. I would say he's the one pole who can, like, shut him down. And obviously Asher still ended up getting on the score sheet. He had 3 points in this game.
I wouldn't even say that.
But, like, we witnessed it in person in Philly. Ben Randall was able to cover Asher Nolting and did a great job at it.
I mean, JT Giles Harris is actually
Done it
in the league,
and he's done it. You know, we've seen guys do it. I think Graham Hossack has the ability to neutralize his opponent, no matter who it is.
Right.
But I wouldn't say he's the only pole who has the ability to cover Asher Nolting, because we've seen guys do it and do it effectively, and we saw it in Philly firsthand, and we've seen it in the past where, you know, a guy can be on his game and obviously have a career day against somebody, but I don't think cover is the right word to use when it comes to Graham Hossack. I think Graham Hossack can be, no matter who his opponent, he can be a neutralizer for sure. We've seen that both PLL and NLL. But I don't think he's the only pole who can cover Asher Nolting. And we love Asher. I think Asher's extremely talented, but he's coverable.
Very. Very coverable. I mean, that's just anybody across the league. I don't think there's anybody that's unguardable in the league, like, at all. I think there's guys who you look to limit, guys that you look to kind of hold to a certain amount of points, but there's nobody who is unguardable. Everybody has a match of some sort in the league, both offensively and defensively, because there are some offensive guys that are matchup problems for certain defenders that are not matchup problems on other teams. So I think that kind of goes both ways, but Asher definitely gets his way a lot of the times, but there are a handful of defenders that can truly give him a run.
Yeah, because I was like looking at the stats to kind of compare it, because I was like, I don't know if I agree with that, because you and I were literally in that Villanova press box saying like, wow, Ben Randall is like shutting down Asher Nolting in this game. And against the Archers, Asher had 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists on 4 shots, shot 25%. The 7 turnovers were tough, obviously. But then I was like, let me look at what he did against the Waterdogs when Ben Randall was covering, because it was not that far long ago. Same point total, 1 goal, 2 assists, shot 16.7%. So a worse shooting percentage against Ben Randall than he did against Graham Hossack in those respective games. The only difference was 4 turnovers rather than 7. So, I mean, you kind of trade a little bit there where Asher had a worse shooting game, less turnovers, a little bit better of a shooting game, more turnovers. What do you want to have if you're a coach? Deej, I'll defer to you as the coach. I think it's almost like potato in some senses.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's to me, it comes down to how do you manage the game and how do you manage yourself? How do you manage the flow of the game? Like, especially with my attackmen, like I need to have good attackmen that are able to go, okay, we just went up and down the field 5 times with this team. Let's slow it down for a little bit and, get our guys on, give our D a chance to breathe and relax and, give our goalie a chance to not see some rubber. Let's get our best shot here, not, the first shot or a good one. Let's get the best one. Let's put it in the back of the net. Let's do it again. I think that's a big thing there. But then, there's different play styles as well. Like sometimes I want a guy that's just like, look, we need a bucket, so I'm gonna go and get it. Like it all comes down to the flow of the game and where we are at that very moment. I need players that are able to shift between those moments or different players that know those different moments and are able to step up in that moment. Because sometimes it's not just one guy, it's a group of guys, but one guy is the guy that settles it down. One guy is the guy that pushes it. One guy is the guy that's like, hey, let's go with this play because this is the defense they have set up right now. So I think that's kind of how coaches are looking at it. And you kind of look at it like turnovers are a part of the game. As long as you are trying to make the best play and you're doing it at 100%, you kind of get over those things because lacrosse is a game of runs. It's going to come and go.
Yeah. I don't know if the touches and passes play into, how Joe was seeing it because against the Waterdogs, they limited even how much Asher was able to touch the ball. Only had 19 touches in that game versus I think he had 47 against the Archers. So he was much more prevalent in terms of just like ball in his stick against the Archers. But no less, it's a fun topic. But I just think it was not the correct word to use when it came to Graham Hossick, and that's not to take away anything Graham Hossick does. He's a phenomenal player, and one of, if not the best defender in the league. All right, Deej, it's Redwoods time, and there's been a lot of Redwoods headlines after this week. Most notably, our guy Diggs Tape flipping and flopping. He's going back to being an Atlas fan. So does that mean Atlas's season is doomed? And are the Redwoods poised to finally have the Diggs curse lifted off of them after this 0-3 start?
Man, listen. I'm not even going to cap with you, dog. I don't think it's a Diggs tape curse. I don't. Diggs, you good with me, dog. Whether you leave, whether
He's
you
always
stay,
good with us.
whether you leave or where you stay, this ain't got nothing to do with you, dog. You keep doing you. You can cheer for both. You can cheer for one. Do you, dog. The bigger thing here is our offense sucks. That's it. Just flat out, the offense sucks. They can't move the ball. They can't hit the net. Nobody wants to try anything different. Everybody thinks they have to be the one to take it over. John Grant Jr. doesn't seem to be doing anything different about it either. So it just keeps flopping, and it's the same thing year after year. The ball dies in sticks. You know what I got to say to that? Put a guy on the reserve roster if he doesn't want to actually move the ball. Maybe he'll move it next week. Start giving some other guys a shot. Alex Simmons hasn't suited up yet. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm pretty sure there's somebody else I can't even think of off the tip of my tongue right now. But if guys aren't playing well, you replace them, or you at least do something different with your game plan. I know you trust the locker room, you trust the guys, you like the guys you have in your locker room, but you got to do something about it. And at this very moment, the Redwoods aren't doing anything about it, but deciding to continue to be the way they have been, which has not worked.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about he talked about, Nakai talked about being more involved in the offense. He's been a no-show this year. He's been absolutely invisible. I'd like to see Charlie Bertrand get more involved because he has the ability to score from pretty much anywhere. Why Cole Kirst and Garrett Degnan are not having the ball in their stick even more is kind of a head scratcher. It was nice to see Ron John in the lineup this week for the first time. But yeah, I mean, it's it's bad when this is the first time in his PLL career that Rob Pennell has gone scoreless. Like that just shouldn't happen ever.
I mean, I think that's okay and reasonable to happen. Like sometimes guys don't score. That's okay. Like it wouldn't be that isn't a huge thing to me. It's a big thing when the entire team is struggling to score. Guys have off nights. Or maybe, the D guy comes out cracked up and is like, yo, I'm playing Rob Pennell tonight and he's not scoring. And he means it. Okay, who else is going to step up and do something? You don't need the entire team every night to make it happen. You need a couple of guys, yes. But if one guy's not going, you got to be able to bounce back and go with somebody else. And right now, the Woods are just showing they can't do that. They're also showing that they can't move the ball and use each other, which makes it very easy. It's pretty much, hey, this guy's going to slide. This guy's going to dodge and try and shoot. So we're going to play some one-on-one D. If he gets beat, slide. And a lot of times they're sliding early and just going with double teams because guys aren't moving the ball. It's a very simple fix. Pass, shot. You score a couple goals, defenses start to loosen up, and then you start to get a little more space. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, we love Ryder on this show, and he's one of our guys, but he hasn't had the best start to the year. Sure, he's leading the team in points. 6 of those points are from assists. He's got 1 2-pointer. But, like, his shot selection has not been typical Ryder Garnsey, you haven't seen this goal before type Ryder Garnsey stuff. Like, he's got to be more effective than what he has been. He was not great in this game. Shot 16.7%. Only had 1 goal, 1 assist on 6 shots. And I mean, if you truly want the hoedown throwdown on how things have gotten off to this 0-3 start, just go watch Westberg's press conference from this weekend. That tells you everything and then some that you need to know. Something ain't clicking in that locker room. You can like who's in there, but when the lights come on and the sky shines bright, something is not clicking with those dudes when they're on the field.
I mean, you can see it just across everyone. It's not even just West. Just the whole offense is really having trouble connecting with each other and getting to that point to where they know where guys are, where they want it, and just getting into that groove as an offense. It's not happening.
And I mean, the defense was not that much better. They left Jack Kelly out to dry on a number of instances. And I tweeted it when it happened. Shout out to Luke Weirman. He gained a fan in me this weekend because when that scrap happened and you see a rookie who's been on this team for 3 weeks just get into the mix and not afraid to, step up for one of those guys. And I asked Sudo about it in the press conference, and he was like, when you first see it, you get this sense of pride and you're proud of the guy for like stepping up and, standing up for one of his teammates. And that just shows like that culture of that locker room is you have a guy in Luke Weirman who's been on this team and been in this league for 3 weeks, and Ryan Terefenko goes down, gets into a scrap. Luke Weirman's not afraid to go in and pull somebody's helmet off. That to me was like, all right, this dude's got stones. I like this guy. He's somebody I'd want on my roster. So shout out to Luke Weirman. You have an invite to come on the show whenever you want. He also chirped the shit out of Arden Coe, and I don't know if you saw the clip the PLL posted. He said, "Nice leg sleeve, bro." Like, just coming. I'll play the audio here and I'll dub it in. He said, "You look like a clown." For the leg sleeve.
Calf sleeve, buddy.
Oh, calf sleeve. I'm sorry.
Calf sleeve, buddy.
He said, "This is entertainment, isn't it? Come on, this is what they want." What a showman.
I mean, he's right.
And then he got up and scored his goal off the face-off and got right back in Arden Cohen's face.
He's ridiculous.
But
that's the kind of energy we need.
Yes. Like, that's how I want to see guys just, like, stand on business. And it was awesome to see from a rookie who's 3 weeks into his pro career. TD was fantastic in this game, too. You know, if you want to take away some of the highlights from this Redwoods team in this game, TD was sensational.
No, we don't. Nope.
I'm going to give love to TD, especially since he followed us on Twitter this week. Shout out to the boy.
I mean, TD's the dog, but, like, sometimes more
what I'm saying
are not it.
What I'm saying is when you have a performance like that, you just wasted it. And you wasted an opportunity when you got off to a hot start.
They've been wasting it all year.
For sure. But I'm saying you were up 3-0. You had TD on a roll here, getting you possessions, giving you opportunities, and you squandered it away by not scoring in half of the game.
I am tired of us being nice. They just need to hear the straightforward, you're bad, get better. I really don't know how else to say it for it to go through. Like, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to be the one that's saying it, but somebody's got to say it because nobody seems to be saying it. You're bad and you need to get better.
Can I say something else too? Because it's very evident through 3 games for them now. This team misses Eddie Gleisner.
I don't think that's the problem. In my opinion, the defense and Jack.
I'm not even saying from a defensive standpoint. It feels like there's no leadership in that locker room.
The leadership is fine. The offense just sucks, and this is normal. It's been like this the last 3 years. It's been let's see what we get. Nothing.
So is it a John Grant Jr. problem?
I don't know where the problem is.
Because you said the last 3 years, he's been the OC the last 3 years.
I mean, I think this was here before that too. I'm not saying I know where the problem is. All I'm stating.
No, I'm just asking you.
I genuinely don't know. I just know it is an offensive problem. When you look at the Redwoods and their seasons the last few years, the defense has been the best part of their team, and it's been the carrying point of the team. The offense has been the same thing. Let's dodge from the top a couple times. Okay, nothing's there. Let's move it to Ryder or Rob late in the shot clock and see if they can make a miracle happen. That's not it. We have to do something different, but I don't know if that's the way they're drawing it up. I don't know if players just aren't seeing the vision that's being drawn up, but that's just what we are seeing on the field. So that's what we can react to. That's why I'm saying I don't know where the problem is there may be a disconnect between coaching staff and player. Like, there's so many reasons why that could exist, but that is the problem. The offense has to get going because it's now putting the defense in a position where they look like they're not doing as well because they're constantly playing a ton of defense. You're tired. Of course, you're going to let up a bunch of goals and lose games if you're always playing defense.
And I mean, it's criminal what is happening to Chris Gray right now. You have a dude who was a leading scorer in this league a year ago. And obviously, situations change. You're playing with different players. But the fact that he had 16 touches and 12 of those touches were passes, something's not like Chris Gray should be a dominating force on an offense, no matter where he's playing. He's that type of player.
Then he should do it. Like, in my opinion, sometimes you got to just decide you're going to be that guy. Like, nobody's even trying to be that guy this year on the Redwoods offense. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
And he went 0 for in this game. 0 for 3.
I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm genuinely not.
The Outlaws are fun, though.
They are. And like I said,
oh boy, were we right about. I got to put the clip together because I finally got all the clips. I just got to pull one of his highlights. It feels good getting those predictions correct, and it seems to happen a ton in Minnesota. It happened last year with us with Jake Caraway. We said the same shit about Graham Bundy Jr. And my, oh my, is that motherfucker a joy to watch.
I mean, we've been saying he was going to be good. It was
Well,
nice to see
we
him
said it
kinda-
this week because he was probably going to be the one that gets bumped up to attack with Logan out, and he led the Outlaws in scoring.
Yeah, I mean, he just needed a chance to shine. And I mean, I think he's done well in the midfield. It's a tough league to be good in the midfield because of the short stick D mids and the poles that are there. And you're just not getting as much touches, and there's a number of things that factor into that. But I mean, I knew once BL really got cooking that this was going to be a team to watch out for.
And he didn't even have to cook in this game, which was also the impressive thing. It's like they're not relying on one guy.
What you mean? I don't care if that was the only goal he scored. That one coming out of the box with Cook.
Yeah, I'm saying like he didn't have to be the guy for them to win.
His presence makes him the guy.
You know what I'm saying.
Well, all I'm saying, no, but what I'm saying is once he cooked, it completely changed the way defense is going to approach the Denver Outlaws. He did that in week 2. You're going to see defenses kind of change the way they approach the Outlaws, which is going to allow guys like Graham Bundy to have more space to operate and do well. That's what I meant by that. Not that like he has to come out and be the guy.
Also,
he's already done that once.
You were sick that you missed this press conference because your guy was in the presser for the first time.
You're not talking about DeLuca, bro.
No. I'm talking about the Outlaws press conference. Your guy. JZ79.
No way.
Yeah.
That's sickening.
That's
sickening.
He's a joy. He has an open invite on this podcast because he, like Justin Anderson, is one of those guys that I could listen talk about the phone book and I'd be enthralled. He's got that energy.
He's a Michigan man. What'd you expect? I got that energy too. You literally listened to me rattle off 1,000 names. Like, come on.
Yeah, and you lost me about halfway through.
Hey, but you were listening.
I also really like Dalton Young. He's very fun to watch, and he was fun in this game. And Pseudo said, we throw him out there and great things happen. That certainly happened this week. And the Outlaws are fun. They're going to be a very fun team to watch all year long, no matter how it shakes out, just because they are such a young team, like just growing together. And I'm very excited to watch them continuing to play this year. And I'm sure Hoots is doing backflips right now as we just absolutely glaze the Outlaws. But shout out to them, a dominant win. And then the Dogs take down the Chaos 10-6 in one of the feels weird that it's still the case, but it is still the case. Andy Towers is 0-7 all time against the Waterdogs. And that 7th time was this week as the Dogs get their first win. They hit their first 2-pointer of the year. And I love the article that our guy Wyatt Miller put out on the PLL website and the comparison that he made to Jack Hanna to kind of correlate it for those Philly sports fans out there. He likened Jack Hanna to being like AJ Brown for the Waterdogs offense, and I could not agree more. As an Eagles fan who gets to watch AJ Brown every single week and what he does for that Eagles offense, it is extremely similar to how Jack Hanna opens up the offense and performs in the offense for the Waterdogs. I didn't realize how much I missed watching Jack Hanna play lacrosse because he is so much fun. He's a dog. He's great to talk to in the press conferences as well. It was very fun seeing him sitting next to Coach Tierney. And the Waterdogs defense was fantastic yet again. And obviously everyone will bring up, Sithakis being active and playing. And did he have his best game? He would probably tell you no. He went 8 for 18. But Coach Tierney pointed out, like, he may not have won the faceoff, but he was pushing Nick Rowlett back and taking up time. And that final faceoff battle going into halftime was, I think, Jerry Raganese's wet dream. It was beautiful to watch, and it just like stalled it was like a 30-second faceoff battle at the stripe. And I will say this game needs to go in the Dylan Ward highlight Hall of Fame tape because it was one of his best games I've ever watched him play.
I didn't get a chance to catch up on this one, so I don't
Wardo was this was like vintage Dylan Ward, like
one I
had
should
his
rewatch.
Yeah. Just to watch how Dylan Ward was like seeing the ball. It was awesome because like there are those moments early in seasons where you're watching Dylan Ward play goalie and you kind of like tense up when certain, plays play out. You were tensed up, but it just so happened Wardo made the save. He had a 66.7% save percentage in this game, made 12 saves. And obviously, that defense and Wardo held Chaos to 6 goals. But it was like, wow, like Dylan Ward's locked in. He's seeing the ball really well in this game. And it was a credit to him for stepping up big time in a moment where the Waterdogs needed him to step up, and they played defense phenomenally in this game. And I don't know, they didn't score a single 2-pointer in this one. I did get a little nervous. There was a moment where Jared Newman had a nice little breakaway down the field, and I thought he was going to let one rip, but he dished the pass. And I was like, okay, we're good. We don't have to worry about Jared Newman ripping in this first 2-bomb in forever. I thought Stathakis was impressive, though. There were moments that were like, okay, not that we ever doubted it, but it was like, okay, he belongs in this league for sure. Coach Tierney had a great little, chirping moment with Wyatt in the press conference. Said, "I'll never tell you that you were right," which was awesome. We were dying laughing, and the offense was great. And it was a clear, dialed in Kieran McCardle game, and led the team in points, 2 goals, 3 assists. Rylan Reese hit the 2-pointer, and those are always fun to watch. And this is a game too where, similar to the Outlaws, where you're so accustomed when it comes to the Waterdogs because he is like one of the faces of the team in Michael Sowers. He didn't have to do all that much in this game for the Waterdogs to win, and I think that is an impressive thing for this team. Is we talked about it last week where you don't want to have to rely on Kieran and Michael Sowers to be like the end all be all for the team. Michael Sowers didn't have a goal in this game. He had 2 assists. You had other guys step up. Connor Kelly had easily his best game of the season, in my opinion, and he didn't even have to launch a 2. And once he does, look out. But it truly spoke to Jack Hanna being back and how important he is to this team.
My bigger thing here is I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it was more so Kieran and Mike stepping up because nobody else could get it going, rather than them relying on them. They were in that weird position where guys were taking on more responsibility than they needed and were moving around because of the Stathakis issue going on with the faceoff. Now that all of that has been settled and they're seemingly healthy, everybody's role has now gone back to what they were expecting it to be coming into the season. And now they're all able to really relax and play their own game. And I think that's really I think that's really starting to shine through and allow these guys to play their very best game. Connor Kelly, for example, I felt like he felt over pressured to perform on offense when he knows, they're going to need him to score some goals here and there. But now you can kind of see him being more of a playmaker. He's like, hey, I just need to make a play here. Whether if I get open and no one slides, okay, I'll take the shot. But if not, then if they don't slide, or if they do slide, someone's open, I'll bang it one more and we'll see where the play goes. Before, everybody was back, he was kind of in this mode where he's like, I got to make plays happen. I have to do it because if I don't do it, then it's only Kieran and Michael. And you could see the franticness, not only in Connor, but across other guys on the offense as well. I think everybody coming back, having Alec, has allowed them all to just take that deep breath and go, okay, I just need to do what they're asking Connor to do. I just need to do what they're asking Kieran to do. And I just need to do what they're asking Zach to do. And that's really settled everybody down. I think even Bill, I think Coach Tierney has gotten a chance to kind of just go, okay, now all I need to do is move these guys into the right positions at the right times and give them advantageous matchups. I don't have to try and solve this puzzle. This puzzle is put together in front of me. I just literally just need to push the pieces together. And I think things are really going to come together for the Waterdogs.
And I like his long-term outlook, but I think it was good for the Waterdogs to not have Matt Brandow in the lineup this week, because it felt like he's just been playing out of position because they had him playing midfield for most of the beginning of this season. And I think just like removing somebody who was playing out of position out of the lineup and putting in a Jack Hanna at his natural position really just like helped the fluidity of things. But that's no slight to Matt Brandow. He's still a very talented player, and I think he's got a long career ahead of him in this league. But it did just feel like the offense was a lot more fluid, and now they can kind of just build off of this. And now that pressure of, okay, we got our first win, we can kind of breathe now, is there. And we'll see how it plays out this weekend in Boston. They get the rematch with the Cannons, and we all know how things went in Philadelphia, and hopefully Coach Tierney has Stathakis suited up so that Zach Tucci can't rip a 40-yard two-bomb in Dylan Wirt's rearview mirror, because objects in mirror are closer than they appear. And I hope Dylan Ward builds off of this game because he was sensational, like I said. And I think this was a game that he needed for sure, just for his own, confidence and building towards, putting together another really strong season for the Waterdogs. But your standings in the PLL, in the East, everyone now with a loss in the league. The Atlas still at the top at 4-1 with a +15 score differential. The Boston Cannons are 3-1 with a +3 score differential. The Whipsnakes are 2-2 with a -3 score differential, and the Waterdogs are 1-3 with a +1 score differential. And then in the West, the Outlaws on top at 2-1. They have a +1 score differential. The Utah Archers are 2-2 with a -3 score differential. Carolina Chaos are 2-3 with a -3 score differential. And the California Redwoods, still the only winless team in the league at 0-3 with a -11 score differential. We are going to preview Boston weekend with a very special guest, doing a home and home with them. And it is the Boston Battery podcast. Those boys, we were on their show earlier this year to kind of just like welcome them into like doing this whole thing and just talking shop. It was a ton of fun. We're going to do it again. They're going to come on with us. We're going to be on their show. Similar type vibe. It's probably going to be the same similar interview, if not a little mixed up, but we're going to preview Boston with the Boston Battery. So we're going to cut to that. But before we do, it's fitting, Deej, that our Boston Battery interview is brought to you by our new partner, Duracell Portable Power Stations. From the #1 trusted battery brand, Duracell Portable Power Stations and charging hubs allow you to power your laptops, mobile devices, lights, speakers, and any small electronics that make your life easier during a power outage or while you're away from a wall outlet. They've got the desktop version of things. They've got the portable generators. They've got the portable generator with a solar panel. This stuff is awesome, guys. It's going to change the game for us, especially when DJ and I have been talking about it with live shows. Duracell is the #1 battery brand out there. Nobody better. And we can't wait to get our charging stations so that we can upgrade and be ready for any moment when we need Duracell to come through for us to keep us charged up when we're away from a wall. So click the link in the description and check out the Duracell portable power stations, including their 2024 Red Dot Award-winning M150 and M250 models. Untether your device charging from the wall and power the possibilities with Duracell portable power stations. And now, without any further ado, let's kick it to ourselves and the Boston Battery to preview the Boston Cannons homecoming weekend. Hey everyone, it's KB, and I am beyond excited to bring you this breaking news about a new project here at Underground Sports Philadelphia. Introducing Light the Flame, an Olympics podcast where all of your favorite Underground Sports Philadelphia personalities will come together to discuss, banter, and break down the Olympic Games. Coming soon wherever you get your podcasts and on our YouTube channel throughout the 2024 Olympics and beyond.
All right. Thank you very much to the Outside the Box boys, Kyle and DJ, for coming on with us. Talk about homecoming weekend. We've got, one Philly fan, one Redwoods fan. So it really works out perfectly for all parties here. But that won't be true after the weekend. Someone's going home a loser. Hopefully the Redwoods and Waterdogs, but we'll see. I will never not take a shot at Philadelphia. Yeah, guys, thanks for sitting down and talking with us. It's going to be a fantastic weekend.
Thanks for having us back on. Are we the first recurring guests?
You are. Yeah, you are the first repeat guests.
Put that one in the column for us, Deej.
One more. Just tally off there.
Yeah,
I think this weekend is going to be much better for everybody else here but me.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. That's my big concern is that Redwoods end up being a trap game, just with all the excitement around Boston, Philly, and that just obviously, the Woods have not been as great this year, but top to bottom, the roster is still so good. Like there's so many good players on every team in the league, and that includes the Redwoods. So we just saw Atlas were looking unstoppable, and then all of a sudden the Whips take them down. So Redwoods might look like the team that gets trodden over, but then do they steal one here? I certainly hope not, and I'm not going to predict that because I am always going with Boston. But that does have me a little concerned if I'm going to be honest.
Well, I mean, you guys unlocked a new wrinkle in your offense and just figured out how to splash twos from every player on your roster last week, which was absolutely to see our guy Ryan Drenner not only one but two bombs. I was like, what did they put in this man's water, going into this game? Because Ryan Drenner is not known for splashing twos. He's somebody who, gets those dirty goals, a la, Jake Carlson with the Whips for so many years.
He also wasn't known for being a mini in general. That guy is a chameleon. We've talked about it before, Aiden. It's just crazy how he is able to change his game to whatever the team needs. You always talk about, guy, you want that guy to do whatever the team needs. And Drenner not only does that, but is good at it too. That he can do whatever the team needs.
Yeah, I bet if they really needed him to play D mid, he'd probably do an amazing job at that too. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, because that means something's gone very wrong for the Cannons. But he's such a chameleon. Let's kick it over to the Redwoods for a second. DJ, what's gone wrong? Why are they the last women's team? Not to just like, I'm just like, they're better than that, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I want to say yes, but we talked about it a little bit on our pod when we recorded earlier. The problem is the offense.
Yeah.
Like, sure, the defense lost Eddie Glazner and like Garrett Eppo, but like you look at like how they're playing this year, they're giving Jack Kelly shots he can see and save, and he's making a lot of saves. TD's giving them the ball, but when you're turning it over and not putting it in the back of the net, you're playing a lot of defense, which means you're gonna let up a handful of goals. That it's been the same problem for the last 4 years, 5 years. Honestly, I would even go all the way back to year one.
Yeah.
They're a very dodge-heavy offense, and the ball dies in sticks. The one thing you can't do in the PLL is let the ball die in a stick, and it happens just too much on the Redwoods offense to where they're not effective. Their offense has been, let's try and initiate from the top. If there's nothing there, let's kick it to Rob and Ryder with 12 seconds left in the shot clock and hope they can make something happen. Like, that's not good offense. And that's
No,
what's holding the team back. Like, defenses are just too good for you to be a dodge-heavy offense like that.
Yeah, I've seen so many times this year, it feels like Rob Pennell's behind the goal, like yelling at everyone and trying to make magic happen. And they just can't have a full season of a good midfield offense. Like they traded, I mean, Jones for Dennis, who are, it's very like for like there. They had, I mean, Henningberg never really clicked as a midi, I don't think. Garnsey obviously can make magic, but not when he's going 1-on-6. Levi Anderson is not playing for them anymore. Never really did. Degnon's not a dodger, but man, can he shoot?
Yeah. I mean, same thing with Charlie and Cole. Like they've done great dodging and have gotten opportunities, but they can't put it in the back of the net. Like that helps, but it doesn't at the same time. I think the only thing that helps the Redwoods coming into this weekend is that the Cannons have only been able to beat them once, and that was week 7 of 2023.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Every other matchup with the Cannons, the Redwoods have found a way to come out on top. So like this is kind of like that opportunity for them to get in and be like, hey, like we have good history against this team. This is the team that we feel comfortable playing against. Let's kind of just let loose and see what happens. But on the other end, they could be very tense and just be like, hey, like, trying to figure it out and being overly tense causes you to make more mistakes oftentimes.
Yeah, and you got to figure the longer that the losing streak continues, the more pressure it'll be, the worse they're going to spiral.
I mean, at this point, I'm cool with tanking for CJ Kirsch.
Oh, that's true.
We can just put him at X and he replaces Rob, but is like younger and is like almost a flashback of old Rob where he was like moving, with intention, and not that he doesn't now, but like you can obviously see that he's older and like doesn't have the same athleticism as he used to.
Right. Yeah, have a 24-year-old do it instead of a 34-year-old.
Exactly. Like it's simply just that. Not that Rob Pennell isn't good enough to still be in the league, but he's reaching that point where his athleticism is caught up. Like his age is caught up with him, and he can't keep up with, JT Giles Harris and Mason Woodward and all these young defensemen that are coming into the league.
Right, especially when there's not much happening off ball for him that he has to like dodge, draw, slide, and pass off that.
Yeah, I mean he's got Westberg. That's it.
Yeah,
you can dodge and find Westberg inside. 100% chance it's going in. It's going in.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, he doesn't really have anything.
Yeah, and they picked up a few interesting. Picked up and repicked up a few interesting box guys. So they got Alex Simmons, who won Rookie of the Year in the NLL, and then Ryan Lee coming back. I know he had a lot of injuries. I was so excited to see them play, and I hope we do at some point this year because I think both of them. Like I know Dan Ressi had a tweet from like 2021 that just said, if you're reading this tweet, you could average 1.6 assists a game playing with Ryan Lee. Like he is so good at finding amazing opportunities to put the ball in the net. And Alex Simmons too. He had like 90, 80 points or something as a rookie in the NLL. Now they play a few more games, but still. I really hope. And clearly Nat doesn't see something, but
you don't just luck into Rookie of the Year in the NLL either. Like you showcase your talents in such a condensed space that
you have to be an amazing shooter to score on those goalies.
My bigger
thing that like 40 times.
My bigger thing is Alex Simmons. Like I feel like he should be playing. He's a speed initiator from the midfield. Yeah. Like we have Nakai, but Nakai hasn't been that offensive threat that he's been the last few years. There isn't that speed factor we had with Jules. Like you have to replace that. You have to find a way to win matchups. Do I like the big shooting guys that stretch out the field? Yeah. But if we don't have anything to offset that, like I think very much midfield has to be in midfield and attack has to be like a running back room. You have your third down back, you have your speed back, you have your power back, you have your stretch back. Like when you're looking at a lacrosse offense, you want to have your pure shooter, you want to have your quarterback, you want to have your strong dodgers and your deep range dodgers, but you also want to have a speed dodger that's simply just gonna beat a matchup with pure speed and cause chaos. The Redwoods don't have that right now. When you look across the league, everybody else has got at least one of those guys, unless you're chaos and you got like 4. But everybody's got at least one except the Redwoods, and I think that's really showing, that they're missing that. But the only thing keeping them in it is their deep threat. They do have Romar and a couple other guys that are shooting from deep, and that's keeping them in games.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, to the Chaos game, they were so close to getting the win there. And it was just really a freaky goal that Jack Kelly lost in the sun that cost him. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens when you're
that and
the ball going off the helmet.
reset. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That they didn't call and they didn't review either. It's like, come on.
I know. Yeah. And adding, I think it would have been like 6-7 seconds is definitely enough to get a little more offense going. Yeah, they've been.
Plus, they haven't gotten Chris Gray going. At all. Like the fact that you,
I think
traded the number 5 pick in the draft to go and get a guy like that because you know what he's capable of offensively, and then it just hasn't gotten going yet. Is time to start like putting out like a yellow flag. Like we're not exactly.
Red
flag yet.
Red flags are out.
Red flags are out as a team, I would say. But for Chris Gray, it's concerning, but it's not the number 1 concern.
Sure. Red flags are out everywhere on this team. I'll tell you.
He's the most pessimistic sports fan ever.
Yeah.
So take that with a grain of salt.
Clearly.
It did not
or in
help
his case, take the whole bag of salt.
Yeah.
Growing up in Michigan did not help. Like we didn't always have great sports teams here. And
the Lions.
Pessimistic, like Lions. I mean, the Red Wings had their run, but
the Tigers had a couple good years.
Tigers had a couple good years, but other than that,
Pistons.
They're bad. Pistons, they ruined it not going and drafting Carmelo Anthony. They've been bad ever since then. Like Michigan football is up and down, so it's just like
national champion.
Hey, we're on the up right now. It's gonna come crashing again, and don't worry.
Probably now that Harbaugh left.
I like Sharon. I think he's going to do an okay job. But yeah, the bigger thing here is I do think alarms are out, but it's more of like we have to figure this out alarm. More of like
a SpongeBob wee woo, if you will.
Yeah, like things aren't working here. How can we fix them? How not reinvent the wheel, but we got to get the cog going again. My biggest thing is I think you run Westberg out of the box every shift, and you just immediately send him to the inside. And then you're pairing him with 2 different middies, and you slide Chris Gray back down at attack. I don't think Chris Gray can be coming out of the box. He's not effective there, not getting enough touches. But Westberg is somebody who you can run out of the box every play. And in your ride, he's just coming off to get your LSM on, so he's fresh to go every rep. And then you just pick him inside, so you still get that inside presence that you want from him without, taking away Chris Gray's ability to affect the game.
Yeah, because you think of, Berg, obviously a tremendous inside finisher, but in transition, you want Chris Gray at the point because he can shoot from, outside the 2-point line, certainly, but anywhere inside it.
And we saw his vision last year with Jeff Teat on the fast break. If he doesn't have the shot, someone's open and he's going to get it to him. So I personally like that idea, but I do understand having Westberg down there. He rides hard in the ride. And he's a cleanup guy. He finishes everything inside. He has all the good points to be an inside attackman, but there's ways to take advantage of what he has to offer while also still bolstering what else you have.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Listen, if the losing streak continues, I'm sure we will see that at some point. And I hope it's sooner rather than later. Not sooner as in this week, ideally 2 weeks from now in Fairfield, where I'll also be at with my Redwoods fan friend. Because, you're right. Like it is too good of a team, and if what they're doing clearly is not working, so you hope Nat St. Laurent is willing to try anything. Bringing Gray on, Simmons on, maybe making a trade if they need. I don't know if you feel that they need to change some personnel.
No, I think the person more so we need to change how we have guys reserved and who's on the active game day roster versus 25 and that kind of thing. At this point, you're 0-3. Start shoveling some different guys through the rotation and see what package of guys works.
Let's also not forget the Redwoods have played 3 games this year without arguably their best defensive player on the roster. Owen Grant's been out since the beginning of the year. That's true. That's a huge, quite literally in a physical sense and in a just present sense loss that they don't have right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's the same. The Cannons defense has obviously they've been winning some games, but without Keelty, especially week 1, that was a rough transition.
And even still, I think that the defense has been shaky without Keelty. That Keelty, obviously, he's the captain of the team. He's so clearly the captain of the defense. He's the guy that communicates. And, Eppel and Jan are fantastic defenders. But, Deej, you know that very well. Glazner was the guy directing Eppel for all those years. Eppel's not used to not having someone direct him. And so I think, and in Maryland, Jan also wasn't the vocal leader on the defense. So you have those two guys that now it's like, who is the leader of the defense? Who's the one that's calling out the slide packages? Who's the one that is seeing the field? I guess, you have Curse back in cage that can help a little bit with that, but it really seems like it needs to be by committee with the Cannons this year. But that almost is a detriment, I think, when you have that just by the committee, because then it's like, who is going to take the call this time? And then guys might be stepping on each other's toes, and so then they step away, and then no one does it. Like, what is it? In baseball, when all three guys are running out to catch the pop up, some guys are running in, some guys are running out, and so then they're like, "Oh, the other guy's going to get it," and then it just drops. I feel like that's what the communication looks like. That no one's sure who's supposed to take the lead, so then no one really takes the lead.
I will say, after Carolina, I was in the press conference with Coach Holman, and he brought that point up where Garrett actually went up to him and said, "Hey, like, I'm not used to being the guy calling out, all the signals and everything. That's not where I'm coming from, but I have to be better at doing that, and I'm going to be better at doing that." And I think you saw that improvement, in Philly. You've seen it now against the Archers last week. And I think that's just like an accountability thing on Garrett Eppel's part to be like, okay, even at this stage of my career, I need to get better. And to go to your head coach and say, like, hey, I'm not used to this, but even at, whatever he is, 29, 30 years old, like, I'm going to do what needs to be done to get better to help this team win, I think is a huge sign in just the growth of Garrett Eppel, the player. And I think it's going to pay off big time, especially with that loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, hopefully it just makes them, better communicators and a better defense when Keelty does come back next year. It's awful to lose him before the season even starts. And then, by your token, same with Owen Grant. Remind me what his injury was.
I think it was NLL related, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Because he was on the PUP list, and I think he's just been out with that. I think Nat told us after the draft it was him kind of just getting healthy from an injury that he sustained during the NLL season. I don't know when he'll be back per se. Hopefully sooner rather than later for the Redwoods' sake, just to get, an elite caliber player on that defense as well and kind of get some guys back into normal positions. And I think having OG as one of your LSMs is, you can't replace that.
For sure.
Right. Well, talking about guys that are going to be out for a little bit, news coming out. What was it? Was it today or yesterday that the news dropped about Pete Cav going on IR?
Today.
That was, I guess it's not a surprise, really. Obviously he was out last week. He had injury history, an absolute grind of a college season to come straight in, but definitely tough to, lose the first round pick. And it seems like he didn't do much week one, but that also was just a whirlwind of a week for him. Seemed to get his feet under him a little bit against Maryland in week two. And then now to just be out for who knows how long.
Yeah.
So it's retroactive to June 25th.
June 25th. So,
starting with last week. So this will be the second week. Luckily, All Stars is next week after your guys' homecoming weekend. So that gives him an additional week, I believe.
Right.
And then you either decide, do you want to hold him out in Fairfield or do you bring him back then? I think it was the best case scenario to put him on IR now rather than wait. That way, doesn't play last week. It's retroactive then, so that's your week 1 where he's off his feet already. This week it sucks obviously because it is homecoming week. You don't get to showcase your number 1 pick. But I think going into All-Star and having that additional rest there, where even if PCAV was, healthy, I don't necessarily think he was making the All-Star team this year. And that's no slight at him. It's just the whirlwind, like you said. And he even brought that up, and Coach Holman brought that up in Carolina, where the words Coach Holman used were, I fed him to the Sharks week 1. So, I mean, he was going to be off his feet a little bit anyway. So I think it was like perfect storm for him to kind of just like, all right, let's reset, let's recalibrate, get healthy, and have, as high caliber of a second half of the season as I possibly can.
Yeah. I think we've seen, I know Schellenberger was dealing with an injury for a lot of his college season, and he's missed some time this year as well. I got to imagine most of these rookies, especially the star rookies who are really, I mean, and every guy that's drafted in the PLL was a star in college, that they're carrying something, especially if they made it all the way to championship weekend. So Schellenberger might be an all-star because he's playing with Jeff Teat, and that's a really easy way to rack up points. But you hope maybe he either isn't voted or declines. O'Neal, I don't know. I mean, he's such a physical freak, but
they're both.
He had one.
They'll both be there.
Quarter.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. BO's carrying something. He was carrying the team on his back.
Yeah.
Against
right,
the
yeah.
Archers.
Yeah, probably some lower back stuff. Probably some, some leg stuff.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's a little bit different with Pat Caff, because I feel like he was a long-term pick.
Yeah.
Like he was in the future kind of pick, like knowing you have Marcus who's a little bit older and like that kind of thing. Like they weren't necessarily needing him this year. Like you look at some of the other first round or like early draft picks, like those teams drafted them and needed them to play. So like he has the opportunity to sit and like go on the IR, and it's not detrimental to the team.
Oh, absolutely.
No, I mean he is good playing from up top, so I think that he can play out of the box if that's what the team needs. But obviously, everyone knows what he can do at attack, and I think that is his long-term spot. And Matt Cav is also getting up there in age too, and he didn't even play last week because he just hasn't had it this year. So I could even see Pat taking over for Matt next year if the season goes the way that it has so far for Matt.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think I've said that on a previous episode that I don't know how hot of a take it is that Pat will replace his older brother at some point, either this year or next. Because he's just got a lot more left in the tank. And again, no shade to Matt Cavanaugh. He's had an incredible career, and obviously thank him for winning the Champ Series. But
but just like you said, Deej, that Father Time catches up to you. It catches up to Rob, and it might be catching up to Matt right now.
Yeah, especially, and this is it's a concern I've had for both Cav brothers, is they just play such a physical game for being a pretty undersized guy. That I mean, Cav, that whole family like takes a beating when they play, and they dish it out when they're riding. But I mean, Pat Cav got beat to hell last year,
and the year before.
But it's all part of their game. I think. Oh,
absolutely.
I think they feed off of that whole vibe of just playing a tough game.
They wouldn't be who they are without it.
Yeah,
but that is why they are so good.
Yeah, you got to take the punches with what they are, which is injuries most likely.
Right.
Yeah, getting your hamstring artificially attached with an exercise band. And
I still can't believe that. That is one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
His nickname should be the Rubber Band Man.
Yeah.
Let's get that going on our next battery post.
Yes.
We'll do it. The Rubber Band Man. Yeah.
Mr. Fantastic.
They literally wouldn't have won without him. So I did.
No, absolutely.
He deserves to be the Rubber Band Man.
He does. Deej, I want to talk a little bit more just about the upcoming matchup on Friday. Don't worry, Kyle. We will get to. We want to talk Philly, but obviously we do have Woods up first, and I guess you're the most pessimistic sports fan, so I'll be interested to hear your take, especially given how rough of a season it has been for the Woods. So I'm sure you could give a laundry list given how things have gone.
Oh, yeah.
But what would you say is the thing that scares you the most about the Cannons this week?
That Zach Tucci is getting hot.
That's a
Because
good
the
one.
offense is good.
Yeah.
So if TD isn't giving us a chance, because that's part of why the Woods games haven't been too bad, is TD is giving them the ball so much that it's hard not to score eventually.
Yeah.
If Zach Tucci's having a game like he had a couple weeks ago against Philly where he's winning more than 60% of the faceoffs, the Woods are doomed. Because we're gonna turn it over. Like, we're one of the most turnover-prone offenses right now. We're gonna turn it over. We're gonna give Kirsty clean saves, so he's gonna warm up and get hot. Like, these are things the Woods do every week. So to have those already lined up, and then Tucci's going off at the stripe, we'll lose by 15. Like, it just wouldn't even be fair because it's just opportunity after opportunity going to the Cannons.
I really hope that, boy, to my earlier point about being scared of the Woods being a trap game looking ahead to Philly. Whew, I hope you're right, DJ, that we can just look ahead to Philly, get at halftime, know we have it in the bag, take the foot off the gas, rest up, and then get ready. Because that's the other thing about the homecoming that I feel like is it's so sick to have the games on both days, but having the back-to-back is just brutal. We were at our happy hour last night talking to Jeff Trainer about it. He's like, after one game, I am gassed. Like, I'm dead. They go all out. So the fact that they just have to go right back at it 24 hours later is kind of insane, honestly.
And I mean, they've been performing so well too. I think that's the crazier part, is that these teams are doing well in the second half of that back-to-back, which is crazy in its own right. I think in order for the Cannons to truly have success, they got to come out and punch first. Because I said earlier, like, the Redwoods do have very good history, so they're going to be coming into this kind of positive, in my opinion. Like, hey, if we can get it going and really stay on it, we got a chance to beat these guys. But if the Cannons are able to come out first and lay that first punch, it might just be enough to push the Woods over for the day, and they'll be like, well, we'll try again next week. That's kind of the one thing.
Would you say that is kind of the one thing that the Cannons should be focused on? If there was something going into the game that they were like, all right, we need to be concerned about this from the Redwoods, what is it? Is that what you would say it is? Just making sure that they're the ones that land the first punch, or is it something else that they should watch out for?
Not even just the first punch, but just having an answer. And being there, because the Woods are probably going to go on a run or two, but can you answer that? Because if you let them go on a run and then you only score one goal and they start another one, or you don't score and they just keep going, their confidence is only going to grow. And they're going to be like, okay, we can get this one, we can really get back on the roll. But if you throw the first punch, or you have an answer every time, or you throw the first at the game and then the first after half, you're really getting at them and showing if you're going to want to get this win, you're going to have to earn it. And it's really going to be tough if it's an uphill battle the entire time.
All right.
I do think it's going to be interesting at the face-off stripe, especially because the Cannons are one of two teams last year who were kind of just quote-unquote seeding the face-off and kind of getting a grip of what the 32-second offense would be like for the opponent. I'm interested to see how Coach Holman and the whole coaching staff kind of approaches it with Tucci, and not saying Tucci's going to just be a pushover at the stripe to TD, but seeing if they're just let TD win it and let the Woods 32-second offense be a thing. If they score, fine. But if we can hold them and then we get our offense out with a full 52 seconds, then we can kind of get set up the way we want to be.
Yeah. I think they'll be fine either way, because on famous last words, but if there's any team I don't trust in a 32-second offense, it's the Redwoods. And TDs
clip that.
Yeah, no, please save that when TD scores 6 goals right off the draw.
I'm gonna need that.
Yeah, but because Tucci's also a fantastic athlete and very fast. That I think unless TD specifically wins it right forward and pops to himself like Tucci did on that game winner in Philly, that he'll be able to stall him for a few seconds, and that might really be all you need. Especially because, I think at least in the beginning of the game, the Woods will have to keep it honest and put, a Pole and the D mid out there, or, someone like Nakai or Kolkar, so you can go both ways. But, and obviously the Cannons trust themselves in the 32 because they got, the ball movement that they had last year and continuing this year is just insane. And Asher can go one-on-one with everyone except maybe Graham Hossack, but he still had 3 points in that game last week. So
we talked about that on our pod before we hopped on with you guys, that our guy, we love Joe Keegan to death. He's been an OG of our show. He tweeted last week that Graham Hossack's the only long pole that can cover Asher Nolting. I don't think that's the right terminology, really. And that's no slight to Asher, and that's no slight to Graham Hossack. But if you've rewinded one game week to Philly, you guys saw it, I'm sure, from home. We saw it in person. Ben Randall arguably had a better game covering Asher Nolting than Graham Hossack did. And sure, it was Graham Hossack's first game of the year, but there's guys that can cover Asher Nolting. It's a matter of DJ and I both agree, there's generally nobody that can neutralize Asher Nolting.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like it's that combination of like
JT Giles Harris has done it in the past too. And
yeah,
he's arguably one of the best, if not the best defenseman in the league. Like, you've seen multiple guys cover Asher. It's nobody's going to be able to neutralize him just because of his play style.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the whips was definitely the best game where he was feeding left and right. And I think, maybe some of the reason for those 5-2s is hedging in a little bit and letting Campbell and Drenner be open from up top, which is what excites me so much about this Cannons offense, is that if they can dish it inside, obviously Campbell can dodge, Drenner can dodge, Nolting can dodge, Kavanaugh can dodge, and then get that slide, kick it back up top, or either finish inside if the slide's late or whatever, and then kick it back up top to a 2. Like, it could just be, bombs away.
Yeah.
Or as Joe Keegan said, the Boston Twos party.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We gotta tie in a better Bunker Hill reference, because I know that was the. I think they're firing from Charlestown on Boston though, not Cambridge. I did make a trip.
I don't think we need to get into the nitty gritty details of that.
No, we don't.
Everyone's going to call us out.
Definitely not. I'll have my history nerd friend. I'll text him and ask for some appropriate slogans we could yell out.
Oh, perfect. Guess we want to talk a little bit about Waterdogs, a little bit Boston, Philly.
Dogs are barking again, guys. Who let them get hot?
Yeah.
That's how do you feel, Kyle? You had 3 1-goal losses, 2 in overtime, both homecoming weekend.
I was
then
there.
You get a face-off guy, and now you win a game. And you mentioned that the Cans were one of the teams last year that were testing out, like, let's just let the other team have the ball first. And it's Cans and Waterdogs, those two teams, and those two teams tried it out week 1. Did not go well for either of us. Cannons quickly said, okay, let's get a face-off guy, and have now won 3 games in a row. Waterdogs said, we'll wait for Stathakis. Kept losing. Now they got him. Now you got to win. What do you think happened Saturday? How do you feel?
So I will say, I've been on the record a number of times. The face-off situation was not the number one problem for the Waterdogs. Was it a problem specifically in that game against the Cannons in Philly? Absolutely. Was it the problem against the Whipsnakes? I wouldn't say yes per se. There were a number of other things that led to the Waterdogs unfortunately not winning that game.
Nardella went 31 for 31.
Went 31 for 31, but I think they had a better plan going into that game than they did against the Cannons. And the shot Kieran McCardle was on the doorstep
I
for.
know.
He makes that 99.9% of the time, and just that 0.1%, he doesn't get the proper angle. Krebs is able to stop it, and then they go down the field. And of course, Matt Rambo loves to shatter my hopes and dreams all the time. I love you, Matt, but it
Philly
happens.
boy.
It's my guy. I love Matt Rambo, but of course it had to happen that way. That's just Matt Rambo things.
Mhm.
I talked about it on our episode, and I talked about it with Wyatt Miller, the Waterdogs beat writer, on our Philly show. The biggest issue was Jack Hanna was missing. Like, Jack Hanna is such a pivotal part of this Waterdogs offense and their creation and what he does to draw defenders away from other guys. And, you know, you saw the no-look pass that he made
Mhm.
against the Chaos, made the same exact pass last year as well. His style of play is just so unique. And I know on one-on-ones this week, Paul Rabils said that Jack Hanna is one of the top 3 midfielders in the league, which I think is extremely high praise coming from Paul Rabel.
Yeah.
But I think missing Jack Hanna was such a huge hole in the offense, where DJ brought it up. Like, Connor Kelly almost felt like he had to do more than what he's traditionally asked to do from the midfield position. Like, it had this extra pressure that he had to go out and perform offensively, and you saw his shooting numbers were way off. And then against Chaos, he shoots, 2/3% of the shots he made go in the back of the net. It felt like guys were just tense. They were tight. It's a new coach. It's a new coaching staff. Some of them may trying to impress this new coaching staff, and just trying to get a feel of like, okay, how am I going to fit in this new system? Is it different from what, Copeland and his staff had going on? I think there was a lot of factors. I do think Alex Stathakis was extremely, like, what a debut for him. It wasn't, the flashy debut you want, but it was everything you could have hoped for to try and neutralize Nick Rowlett, I'm sorry, at the stripe, and kind of just push him back. Like, that final face-off battle going into halftime was
It was amazing.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Like 20 seconds or so,
It was
25.
insane. It was like almost 30 seconds. Like, it almost ate up an entire face-off shot clock. And I think Coach Tierney talked about, like, he did a great job of pushing Nick backwards to where it stalled Chaos's offense a bit. And you saw it. They scored 6 goals. So I don't think the face-off, you look back at those games, sure, they lose by 1 goal every single time. I don't think the face-off was the main contributor outside of that game against the Cannons, where, Tucci ends up going, sicko mode the entire game and scores like crazy. And I think part of it was also on the defense, more specifically on Dylan Ward being able to defend the 2 against you guys specifically, and against the Whip Snakes too. If he stops one of those 2-pointers in both of those games in Philly, we're talking about a 3-1 Waterdogs team rather than a 1-3 Waterdogs team. And Dylan Ward had a great bounce back game against Chaos as well.
Oh yeah.
One of his best games, I think, of his PLL career. It's the little things, and just, one save here, one no-look pass here goes your way. I think a lot of people just had the easy target to go out and say, oh, the Waterdogs don't have a face-off guy, that's why they're losing, because they were the only team for 3 weeks that didn't have one.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think you are right there. It is more complicated than that, especially like if you're losing by 1, it wasn't probably 1. I mean, yeah, you could cite one moment, obviously, of it, losing the face-off in overtime, but there were a lot of things that went, like the Cannons only scored 1 goal in the 4th quarter, as did the Waterdogs, but it wasn't until less than a second to go. Like, there's a lot of things that could have happened in that 11 and a half minutes that would have changed the outcome of that game that had nothing to do with the face-off. And you're right, Jack Hanna is such a difference maker. You talked about one pass, one shot. Like, Jack Hanna can do both of those very well.
Like, he has that physical presence. He's not necessarily Asher Nolting, but he has that similar physical presence to where he can go one-on-one and body somebody up and dominate you just on physicality alone, just like Asher can. And that can't be, not every team has that on their offense. Typically you have that as a defenseman or, somebody on the back end. But if you have somebody who can do that offensively, and if you have somebody like Asher or Jack who can, move up and down the field the way they do, especially at their size, that's a game changer and something that every coach in the league wishes they had.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he is. I mean, I gotta think he's only going to be better week 2. With another set of game reps, another set of practices under his belt, and playing for the coach he played for in college. I gotta think that he feels very comfortable in that offense, that system that Tierney runs. He's one of the people I'm most scared about. Sowers and McCardle obviously get a lot of the attention, but Jack Hanna can really do it all. He's another guy like Drenner that you just know he's going to do whatever he needs to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough to beat a team twice in a season in any sport, maybe outside of baseball because it's series based, but when you look at, when you're playing one singular team on a singular day and then playing them again later in the year, you're playing a completely different team 90% of the time. And that's going to be the case in this game. The Waterdogs are going to have Stathicus at the stripe. They're going to have Jack Hanna in the lineup. And their offense was just more fluid against the Chaos too, I think, with Jack back in the lineup. And I brought this up on our show as well. Like, it's no slight to Matt Brandau. I think he has a long-term, successful trajectory in the PLL, but he was playing out of position. They had him playing the midfield. He's not a midfielder, and there's just it's similar, Pat Cav almost, where it was a long-term investment pick for the Waterdogs with Brandau. But him playing out of position, you could tell he was playing out of position and he wasn't as effective. You take him out of the lineup and that uncomfortability, you put Jack Hanna in, who's comfortable in this offensive system with this team as a whole. You saw the offense look a lot more fluid and a lot more comfortable. The only person that I'm hoping gets a little more comfortable is Ethan Walker. After the year he had last year, where it was wow, he stepped up into this elite, attackman, and he's no longer coming out of the box. He's, pure attackman now, playing alongside Michael Sowers and Kieran and being the third star on that offense. Hasn't really come to fruition yet, which is kind of weird because he also played for Coach Tierney at Denver. And you'd think, somebody who could easily fit into the mold of what Coach Tierney and his staff is trying to do, it would be somebody like Ethan Walker. So I'm hoping, some wheels start to turn, especially now that Jack is back and how close he and Jack are just off the field alone. Things will start to cook for Ethan Walker a little bit. Because if he gets going too, we've seen this Waterdogs team win a championship. Went to another championship last year. They have guys all across and up and down that offense that they can score from anywhere. And we haven't even brought up somebody like Jake Caraway who can shoot from range. You want to talk about somebody who's kind of like Ryan Drenner, can shoot from range, more so than Drenner does, but can also get in close and score on you inside. There's a ton of options that it's going to be interesting this second go around against the Cannons to see how things go. And it's the new age PLL rivalry. Obviously, Whips and Redwoods was the original rivalry, but over the course of less than a calendar year, Waterdogs Cannons has truly turned into something special with the PLL.
Yeah, definitely.
Austin
These
Philly.
2 games are the ones that I want the Cannons to win the most. Being the week 3 matchup in Philly and then this one. And who knows? Maybe they meet a third time in the playoffs. That would probably be the PLL's best game of the year, no matter where in the. I mean, the championship game I'm sure will be great, but no matter where in the playoffs they meet, that would be ratings gold.
I mean, look at every big game those two teams have played against each other. It's also ironic that they're the 2 expansion teams of the PLL era. That they have become the rivals, but that playoff game on Long Island last year kind of really sparked the flame more so than anything. And then you look at what happened at Champ Series and this first game this season, these 2 teams don't like each other. No. And it's very evident, and that's good for the league.
Absolutely.
You want to see you don't want to see a league that is so small just feel like it's buddy and all this kind of stuff. You want teams to fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
And it's very evident that the Waterdogs and the Cannons from top to bottom hate each other.
Yeah, we were staying in the same hotel as all the league for Champ Series. And after the championship game, Jack, I think you were still here for this. We saw Christian Scarpello talking to Matt Palem, really laying into the Cannons.
Sowers was there too, I think, right?
Wasn't he? It was Sowers and Scarpello just saying. I believe he used the word scumbags for the Cannons play in that game. And
I love Christian Scarpello, man. You want to talk about somebody who just does everything you want from a short stick D-midi perspective,
yeah.
and is just gritty and will do the dirty work for you, and will also just like bark back at anybody, no pun intended, that comes in his way. It's Christian Scarpello, and it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, he's
It's
a
Philly.
guy that, I mean, it's hard for me to be a fan of the Philly guys now, but he is a dude that I've absolutely loved watch play the whole time he's been in the league. And
That's what kills me about like the cities thing too.
yeah,
I genuinely like every single person I've come in contact with on the Boston Cannons roster, from Coach Holman to Kyle Hartzell, all the way down the roster. You know, Ryan Drenner is one of my guys through and through, no matter where he plays. And like Marcus Holman has been nothing but great to us. Like the list goes on and on with everybody on that roster. I just hate that you guys are from Boston.
yeah. Likewise, I know I've said this. I liked Philly because I liked the expansion team, that like underdog thing. But once they became Philly, I just flipped. I was like, I don't like Michael Sowers anymore. I can't. I'm sorry.
He's a good. I love Michael Sowers. Like,
Yeah.
just as like a person too, and just seeing like how his family has really taken to, like, they are Waterdogs super fans.
Yeah.
Like from Philly homecoming weekend, like they were out tailgating with the K9 crew. And like, they were like, "You guys are out here, we're out. Why don't we just tailgate together?" And it just became
That's
this like
awesome.
super tailgate. And it's really cool seeing like the players, like families, like really integrate with the supporter groups and everything. I hope that happens for you guys this weekend too.
I think it will. I think the Holman Ost clan they had a huge contingent in Carolina, and I believe they're all coming to Harvard, as you'd expect they would.
Yes. Yeah,
so
they
I think
definitely
there'll
will
be a good number of people in our section, and I think we'll definitely connect with them pregame and get things going.
Trainer's gonna have the whole.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be Jeff Trainer's family running the show.
Our section is sold out, so like that the stadium itself is gonna be packed.
That's what I'm intrigued about too, because like I circled your guys' homecoming weekend. Obviously, Philly, like Villanova was packed to the gills, and it was awesome. And DJ said it on our show after that weekend, like it was the first time that it really felt like a team's home game. So I'm intrigued to see like how that like how it plays out for another like big sports market like Boston.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that, especially with the Cannons having such a long legacy in the city and in Harvard Stadium specifically.
Yeah,
I really could not be more excited. I hope we see a couple wins. I don't think so. I do think the Dogs are going to get us in game 2.
No.
For the factors that you've mentioned and just the exhaustionness of it. I wish that was game 1, but
I did find it interesting that I brought this up to Coach Holman after last week's game, and I said, with the doubleheader on deck for you guys, like what are you kind of preparing for, and how much did Champ Series kind of prepare you for playing the back-to-backs? And he's like, I never thought of that. Thanks for giving me something to look at and really, dive into. And I'm shocked that obviously I'm kind of removing the Waterdogs from that for a sense, because Coach Tierney wasn't coaching the team, but Sweet Lou is there and he knows how it operated. So I'm intrigued to see like how the Champ Series teams from this year kind of calculate their homecoming weekends and everything. But he said that like from everyone he's talked to, whether it's coaches or players, like it seems like an overwhelming majority is that the players prefer the doubleheader and they like playing the back-to-back because it gives them an opportunity to build chemistry together and kind of just playing on a more consistent level, even though it's only 2 days. But instead of waiting an entire week or having a bye week in between, like some of these teams have had, where it kind of stalls your momentum a little bit with your team one way or another, you're playing back-to-back with each other and kind of learning each other's nuances in a game environment. And a lot of the players enjoy that factor of the homecoming weekend.
That's a really interesting point, because obviously these guys are not together during the week, that they're showing up in market on the weekend and having one practice, and it really is more of a walkthrough because you've got the game the next day. So that's, I hadn't thought about that. And it is interesting. You say Bill Tierney wasn't there. And so obviously Archers and Redwoods also haven't had their homecomings yet. So the Cannons are sort of that first one to, I guess, have that experience of the back-to-backs and how does that play out. Yeah, just like Holman thanked you, I'm also thanking you. I had not thought about that at all, and I'm going to be really intrigued.
That's
to
why
watch
Champ
that this
Series,
weekend.
like a lot of people underestimate the value of Champ Series for like the little nuance things. And I'm not saying like we do, but like there's fans out there that are like, oh, this isn't, regular lacrosse. What does it matter to me? There's some factors there that you could utilize if you're a coach specifically to be like, okay, how do we best prepare our team for a situation like this?
Definitely. Yeah, I think year one I wasn't as big of a fan of it, but they really saw. I mean, obviously being there in person helped, and the cannons being there helped. Like last year, we weren't in it,
and winning.
Yeah,
too. I mean, I was fully sold on it after this year.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, I mean, I think pretty good likelihood that they'll be back in the top 4 of the standings next year. But
I'm intrigued what the reception of the New York Atlas is going to be in Boston.
I think pretty negative. They're not playing the Cannons, which will help.
That's why I'm intrigued, because they're not playing the Cannons per se.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering what a New York team playing in Boston's reception is going to be. And if it turns into that second game and it's a night game too, if the crowd turns into an Outlaws crowd.
Yeah, I'll certainly be pulling for them. Both because it's an Eastern Conference team, and the Cannons have a chance of being the number 1 seed if the Atlas lose and the Cannons win both games. So I will definitely be. I just can't bring myself to root for a New York team. No, if
the UV Atlas.
Yeah, when you guys play, when it's New York Philly, that'll be interesting. I think that'll just depend on where the standings are at the time. No, you haven't played yet, right? The Atlas and Dogs haven't played yet.
No, first time will be in San Diego.
Okay.
For Redwoods homecoming weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. So that's in about a month, 3 weeks.
Yeah, end of the month,
and then they play in Salt Lake.
Okay.
So the last weekend.
So we'll have a good sense. I imagine the Dogs will probably be on a bit of a heater by then, because they'll really be.
That'd be nice.
Settled in. Yeah, we'll see.
Does it feel like you guys almost have like 3 consecutive home games per se? Because you have your homecoming weekend, then All-Star happens, and then the following weekend is quote unquote neutral site game in Fairfield.
Yeah. I mean, I think there'll be a pretty good mix of Cannons, Atlas, and Waterdogs fans there. And then I'm sure there are because Connecticut doesn't have a team. I'm sure they'll be I'm going with my friend to that game who's a Woods fan. I'm sure there'll be fans of other teams, especially Whips too. But yeah, I mean, I certainly hope that I'll try to get.
And it is Cannons, Atlas, in Fairfield.
Yeah. Well, that'll be a fun game.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah. Hopefully, they figured out how to make Xander Dixon not catch the ball and score every single time.
Yeah, I think the world will end before that happens. That dude's good, man.
Yeah, he's very good at catching the ball when you don't realize he's standing behind you right in front of the goal.
Yeah.
Slim Reaper.
Yep.
Hey.
What Cannons do you think are going to make the All-Star game?
So, I mean, Campbell's got to lead the league in twos at this point. I think he's the biggest lock. Probably Asher too, although so many of the stars are attackmen that it's tough. But he is up there in points. I mean, Epple's got good name recognition. I was trying to think of the goalies, and I think Kirst has a shot because they have a winning record, and that obviously helps. You think it's 2 goalies in the East. I feel like Troutner still has to go, even though he had a bit of a down game against the Whips. And then for a second goalie, between Kirst, Ward, and Peyton Krebs, I feel like Kirst has had the best showing so far out of those 3.
Yeah.
Tucci, obviously he had that amazing game. I certainly voted for him, but I don't know. People are probably still going to vote for Baptiste and Nardella for him, which is too bad. Marcus,
I think Marcus will be there as a name recognition type of thing.
And he does win the accuracy shooting every single time.
Yeah, plus his wife is going to be there too, because the women's Unleashed
that'd be nice.
Participating as well.
Yeah,
I would love to see Ryan Drenner be an All-Star. I'll say that. I think he deserves it. He's played he is one of those guys, and Deej and I have talked about this all the time. He's one of those guys that just flies under the radar, but then when you go and look at his stats, they're just so good. And Matt Campbell's kind of in that territory too, but because Matt Campbell consistently is hitting 2s and everything, especially this year, he's more prolific almost. But those 2 guys, just go about their business. They're quiet. Coach Holman said in the press conference last week when Matt gave his opening statement. He's like, I think this is the most I've ever heard Matt Campbell talk in one sitting.
Yeah, I mean, all he wants to do is shoot, and he's real good at it. So that's all we wanted to keep doing. But yeah, I think he's the biggest lock, I think, and then probably Nolting or Holman afterward, just because, you know, the league kind of pushes them as stars, but also they deserve the reputation as stars.
Yeah.
And then I do think Kirst is probably the best case for all-star goalie. And then and we'll see after that. You know, it's only, well, I guess it's between the four teams of the East. So, yeah, well, I'm sure Jack and I will do an all-star episode leading into next week. But just who would you expect from the Dogs? I mean, I would think McCardle and Sowers.
Kieran, Michael Sowers. I genuinely think Ben Randall deserves an all-star nod. He has been fantastic for them and arguably their best defenseman. I think it might just be those three. There might be a push for Dylan Ward, just off that name recognition almost. But I do agree with you. I think Kirsty has earned a nod as an all-star. It's tough because when you start 0-3, you know, a lot of people sour on you in the general populace of like, oh, this team stinks. Like, why do they deserve so many all-stars? So then it kind of like defers to Kieran and Sowers. I think Zach Currier will probably get in as well. And I think, I don't know if he'll get in, but I think Matt Witcher also deserves an all-star nod for sure. And I think DJ would cape for that any day of the week. He loves Matt Witcher. And he's played extremely well and deserves like that recognition, because I think he's another one of those guys that like flies under the radar, but like does everything and then some that's asked of him. Even if it's going to the face-off stripe and taking face-offs in a group collective and going over. I think he also deserves a nod for sure.
Yeah, I'm such a fan of him as well. It feels like every time he scores, it's either to take a lead in the fourth quarter or to like break a tie or like tie the game up, like just a backbreaker and such a juice goal.
And it's weird because he does it wearing white socks and black cleats, and we all know that's anti-drip.
Yeah, it's pretty cringe, Matt.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Jeff Trainer does that too.
I was just about to say,
it's weird.
My boy, our boy.
Those two guys are like breaking the system, and it's like, what are we doing here, boys? Like, can we get some white? It's weird it's even weirder for the Cannons because they have no black in their logo.
Yeah, the black.
It not only does it stick out because they don't have black, but it's also like the navy black.
Even it clashes so bad.
Go together. Period. Like, Jeff, could you at least put on navy cleats if you want to like do that?
If you want to have like a different contrarian colored cleat, at least match your jersey.
Or red cleats. That'd be sick.
That would be. Now we're
but like that would actually be cool.
Yeah,
because
that's something Ryan Drenner should do.
The black cleat white sock is like just what are you doing? So I think like a dark navy would be the appropriate choice of footwear if you want that sort of vibe.
Or be normal and just go get yourself a nice pair of white cleats.
Yeah,
it looks so clean. Deej, what do you think? Any all-stars on the Woods?
I think Jack Kelly has a solid shot. He's played really well between the pipes. You just see so many shots that might defer him. Westberg should have a solid shot, but I think wins might hold him back. But he does have a solid amount of points. I think Garrett Degnan has been great out of the midfield. He should have a shot, but he's also going up against some tough midfielders when you look at the Western Conference. So that's kind of up against him. But I really think our best options are TD at the stripe. He's been great. And then our LSMs have actually been really good. More specifically, Jared Connors. He's been fantastic. So I think those two are true best shots at getting anybody in. But I put more money on TD than anyone else.
Yeah, I agree. He also has pretty good name recognition.
I'd be a little stunned if Westberg doesn't make the All-Star team.
I want to say that, but look at the other attackmen in the West. The Archers could post their whole attack line. I guess it like wouldn't necessarily be their attack line, but you would just put Grant Ament there. there's 3 right there, and then you could do the same thing with Chaos. You drop their whole attack line. You can't tell me BO is not going to be an all-star. So like it's already limited down at attack when you think about who's in the West and like how productive they've been. Like Josh Burns almost a lock.
Justin, yes.
Brennan O'Neal's a lock.
Yeah.
So there's basically 1 or 2 spots left at attack. And how are you putting him over Mac O'Keefe, Connor Fields, Grant Ahmed if they allow him to play attack? Like
I forget with the PLL, is it almost like baseball where like each team has to have 1 player, or is it just
I don't think so.
Because obviously, like I agree, TD is going to get in, but
I don't think there's a rule because especially now that they have the conferences, I feel like it would be insane if one of 4 teams couldn't.
That would be wild.
Like they probably haven't even. Maybe they've thought about it, but I can't imagine that they were like, "There's no need to put."
Plus, we've seen in the past like guys drop out of the All-Star game too to just rest. So
but exactly. I would imagine they thought about it, but they went honestly. If a team doesn't get votes, it's probably because they're bad. So get better. Like if you aren't getting any votes out of 4 teams to get at least 1 guy out there, you're playing bad. So you need to get better. I don't think there should be a clause in there. There isn't a clause in any other All-Star. You're either good or you're not. So let's not outside of baseball that way, you know.
And
like,
hockey.
I mean,
baseball and hockey, you have to have at least 1 player from each.
But there's always it's an easy option too. Like arguably with this Redwoods team, if you took TD off of it, you would kind of go, I guess we can go this guy. But like there's an argument to put somebody else from any of the 3 other teams above those guys except TD.
Yeah.
So it's like TD's the lock, but outside of that, you just got to get better.
Yeah.
Pessimism is definitely shining through right
All right. I think pessimism is a great note to end it on. We've been going for quite a while here.
I have one last one. Does the Cannons mascot return?
I want
They've been
Boomer
posting
back.
him like crazy.
I know.
I want Boomer back. We have had talks with the PLL. I don't think Boomer is coming back, unfortunately. What we have heard is that he looks.
What's the facelift
on this show?
I mean, I try not to swear. I know Coach Holman said a few profanities, but
an appendage, a rather not soft one, I suppose, is what the PLL told us that he looked like, and so they are afraid to bring.
So he needs a facelift
back
a little bit.
Yeah, we need to figure something.
We need to make the mascot kind of look like the Throwback Weekend logo that was on the jerseys.
Yeah, like a cannonball.
Yeah, if it was a ball instead of the cannon, maybe. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah. All right.
We need all the teams that have
podcast so she can.
We really do. Philly should just have an actual dog, like
I mean, Chaz.
Oh,
the league.
Oh yeah.
Can the Woods just buy Smokey the Bear? Can we just bring him to all the games? I think
only you can prevent 2 bombs.
Only you can go out and lose a bunch of
Oh.
That's going to be an episode is PLL mascots.
Yes. Count us
in. Are you guys going to be in Boston?
We will not be in Boston.
This weekend. We will be there for playoffs.
We will have a photographer in Boston.
Okay.
Evan Sales, who photographed our live show and all of our Philly photos, will be in Boston taking photos for us. So we'll let him know where your guys' section is.
Great.
We are going to be right behind the Cannons bench.
Cool. I'll let him know to zoom in on your shining faces.
Oh,
sure I will be in Fairfield though.
Oh, great.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Don't get a media job. It takes up some of your weekends. I'm working a Michael Jackson Experience concert that weekend. Boy. So I had plans to be at Fairfield, and they got snipped on.
We'll just get a media job with the league that you want to like participate in. So
yeah, I've been telling him I'm gonna hang it up here soon and give Mike a call.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mike Rabel. His wife just had their second baby.
Yeah.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Congrats.
Congratulations to them.
I was like, of course the breaking news happens after we record our actual episode. But
Always. It is
so
a
you guys
staple of being
got
on
the
TV.
scoop.
Yeah.
He did tweet the
There we
photo
go.
and everything, but yeah, congrats to the Rabils.
Absolutely.
Congrats. Yeah. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Enjoy homecoming weekend, boys.
Yeah.
It's a blast. Like the two that we've been to have like progressively gotten better, and what we watched in Charlotte from home was really awesome. So bring it and enjoy it, and can't wait to see everything go down through my TV screen, obviously, but looking forward to another homecoming weekend with the PLL.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah, the PLL has done a great job. You know, you guys have obviously know firsthand from being on a couple, but just on the TV screen, it has been so obvious to me who the home team is every weekend. So I'm just like giddy with excitement at the thought of Harvard being dripped out in cannons. I can't wait. Like
I'm intrigued too, because Chaos and the Waterdogs both had banners showcasing like their championships running across some of the bleachers and everything, and the fences that said like the year and then PLL champs. I'm intrigued if they're going to do it for the Cannons, especially with the championship series.
MLL, yeah.
They definitely got to bring back those 2011 banner. They used to have a huge one like on that Ivy wall.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that would be
because the branding's
they bring that thing back. Whew.
Yeah. We should already know the answer to that, honestly, if they are.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued if they do anything for the championship series title, because it would be you guys and the Outlaws.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, you know, just a little note, maybe. You know, what was it? You know, like the Bruins have the President's Trophy banner where each Stanley Cup gets its own banner, but the President's Trophy is just one banner with all the years listed. Maybe it's like just a smaller version. Like they'll have the big banner and then basically a footnote. Hey, we won Champ Series 2.
It's always a blast chopping it up with you boys.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for having us back on.
Guys,
Thanks for hopping on our show as well, and we'll definitely do it again soon.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you both for coming on.
Shout out to the Battery Boys for having us on once again and coming on the show with us to preview homecoming weekend for the Boston Cannons. And Deej, without any further ado, let's head on over to the Pick Pond. Another trip over there, and we got to start fading ourselves the way that our picks are going this year. But it is the PLL Boston Picks of the Week, brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia and the Outside the Box podcast. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs. They're hitting those shore towns down at the Jersey Shore now, down there in Wildwood, Cape May. They're making their way down. It's going to the Delaware beaches. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood beer on tap in the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland areas. When you're watching the Waterdogs, the Whip Snakes in those markets, you can crack open an ice cold Kenny. You can also get it at your local liquor stores in those markets, and check out the Kenwood Beer storefront, where you can get awesome pint glasses, great apparel. It's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly. Deej, it's PLL Boston week, and things get rocking and rolling with those Boston Cannons as they take on the California Redwoods, who are in search of their first win of the season. Kind of feels like they're at rock bottom already. Can the Woods figure it out against the Cannons, or does your guy Brian Holman have the answer to keep it pushing and the Cannons get the first win of their homecoming weekend against the Woods.
I got Cannons taking the win against the Woods. As much as I want to pick my Woods and still believe in them, the bigger thing is here. I don't trust their offense quite yet to come through against a team like the Cannons, who are hot right now and playing very good lacrosse.
Yeah, I got the Cannons as well. When they can hit the 2 as lethally as they do, and when they have the defense that they have and guys in the midfield who can just create, for them, it's tough to not pick them, especially against a Redwoods team that is just struggling to find any answers. So I will go Boston Cannons as well. We move to the nightcap on Friday at 8:30 p.m. It's the Outlaws and the Atlas. This should be, you want to talk about fireworks on 4th of July weekend. This is a must-watch game, in my opinion. There's going to be scoring. There's going to be defense. It's going to be gritty, physical. And I'm going with the hot hand right now, and I'm going with the Denver Outlaws. I like the way that this team is playing. They're playing for each other and with each other. The defense has looked sensational, for most of the season. Owen McElroy is stepping up big and playing phenomenal goalie in place of Sean Scanoni with his injury. And I'm a big Graham Bundy Jr. fan. I'm falling in love of just watching him play lacrosse. It is so much fun. He is a creator and just an absolute force out there on the field for the Outlaws. Number 7 is becoming one of my favorite rookies in this class, hands down. So I'm going Outlaws to get another win on the season and triple their win total from a year ago after they doubled it last week.
But Outlaws are playing very good lacrosse right now. They look very good. They're vibing. The young guys are really stepping up. But a lot of teams in the PLL don't like the taste of loss. And they do a great job of bouncing back. As much as the Outlaws are playing good lacrosse, Atlas didn't get dominated. They easily could have won that game with a couple plays going the other way. I think I got Atlas bouncing back. And I'm not sure. I think Denver will be able to hang with some of the punches. But I think in the end, I think the offensive firepower may be a little bit much for the Outlaws to handle. And I'm going to take Atlas.
This is good. This is good for the picks. We already have one differential going. We move to Saturday, 4:30 p.m. on ESPN Plus. It is the Utah Archers and the Maryland Whip Snakes going toe-to-toe. Whips are hot. Archers kind of, stumbling a little bit here over the past couple of games with back-to-back losses. I don't know. I'm going with the hot hand again here, and I'm liking the way that the young Whips are playing. Would it shock me if the Archers come out and win? Absolutely not. But I'm going to go with the Whips to get another win. I like the way that these young guys are playing on this team right now. They're playing cohesive lacrosse, and I think they're going to keep it rolling and get another win.
I think this one may be closer than some people think. I think this is going to be a really good game. It has potential to be game of the weekend, in my opinion. But it's definitely going up against some tough matchups. Bigger thing here for me is that this Archers midfield really has a chance to cook. We've noticed that the Whip Snakes D-mids aren't the D-mids that they've had in the past. And this is one of the best offensive midfields that is in the league. When you look at Grant, Tom Schreiber, Challen Rogers, Trey Leclerc, etc., there's plenty of opportunity here for these guys to work. And I think this is where that group really gets moving again. And we see the offense kind of explode, for lack of a better term. And I got the Archers taking down the Whip Snakes.
We move to the nightcap, the game of the week, as per the TV broadcasting schedule. Saturday at 7 p.m. on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. It's the Philadelphia Waterdogs and the Boston Cannons in one of the best new age rivalries in the PLL, and it is just going to have more gasoline poured on it this week. A chance for the Waterdogs to get that revenge. You know, every game is a revenge game, and I think they do just that. Waterdogs bounce back. They get their lick back against the Cannons, get back in the win column again, and just build off the momentum and keep things rolling and continue playing good lacrosse. I got the Waterdogs to spoil the final game of homecoming weekend for the Boston Cannons and all those mass holes out there.
I also have the Waterdogs. I think the Cannons are going to split this weekend. And this one really comes down to how good the Waterdogs are. They lost to the Cannons by 1 a couple weeks ago when they were in Philly, and it was more so because they didn't have a face-off guy, which, in my opinion, is the reason why they lost that game. Maybe not all of them, but they have one now, and I think that flips the tide. Whether it's by 1 goal or not, Waterdogs come out on top.
Hell yeah, let's go. I was scared you were going to be preying on my downfall this week.
Nah, I'm not like that, dog.
We love to see it.
I did. That was probably the game I pondered the most, because of how good those two teams really are and where they stand as teams and how they play. That one was pretty much a toss-up in my opinion.
So here are our PLL Boston picks of the week. We both have the Cannons getting a dub to kick things off against the Redwoods. I've got the Outlaws. Deej has the Atlas. I've got the Whips. Deej, you have the Archers. And we both have the Dogs getting a win against the Cannons. And those are our PLL Boston picks of the week, powered by Kenwood Beer. Before we wrap here with our one-on-ones breakdown, you can also follow along with our picks and our fantasy teams in the PLL app. Join the OTB fantasy group in the PLL app, where I gotta give myself a pat on the back, Deej. It's not often that this happens. I had the best fantasy score of the PLL group this week. I was in the top 100 in the PLL overall group. I was number 73 this week.
You were in the bag this week. I can acknowledge.
And that's with Dox Aiken having a negative score. Imagine if I would have put Jack Hanna in there like I was initially going to, but I was like, nah, Dox has been cooking. Let me utilize these coins. But the boys showed out and popped off. We got to get Paul LaMonica on this show to talk a little PLL fantasy. Maybe during the All-Star break, to kind of just that way we'll have enough info and detail for the first half of the season to break it all down. But you can join the PLL app for free, and you can join the OTB fantasy group for free in the PLL app and compete against all your favorite outside the box podcast personalities, myself, Chase, Deej, Hoots, Mike Rabel, no less, in our group. But join our group, see where you rank, and helmet hunts going on this week. One of my favorite things that the PLL does every single year, since the app has been available, the PLL helmet hunt is going down, and it's very fun. Lots of opportunities to earn XP on your account throughout the next couple of weeks, and the PLL app is a game changer for us covering the league because it's up to the minute stats. Press conferences are available in there shortly after they conclude. Great articles from all the PLL beat writers and Paul when it comes to PLL fantasy. Up to the minute updates on all your favorite teams. Keep up to date with your favorite teams, favorite players, and everything when it comes to the PLL. Download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, or go to PLL.app, and then go to the redeem code section as well, guys, and redeem code OTBPOD for 500 XP in the PLL app. That's code OTBPOD in the redeem code section in the PLL app for 500 XP on your account.
What you got cooking for fantasy this week?
What do I have cooking for fantasy this week? I'll say it's not set in stone just yet, but I do like some of the pieces that I have right now. So right now, I have Connor Fields, Kieran McCardle as my two attackman. I have Jack Chorus in my midfield group, who could be a steal of the week. He was cooking last week. He's been cooking since he's been in that lineup for the Whips. And Deech's only 15 coins on your salary cap. I like that as a nice little value play. I also have Grant Ament in my lineup once again, cooking out of the midfield there. My defense, I'm going with the hometown boy. Game 1, I have Jeff Trainer in my lineup at defense, only 15 coins on the salary cap. I have Dylan Ward running it back against the Cannons, a little revenge game factor. And then I'm also putting Alex Stathakis in there against Zach Tucci because he's only 10 coins. And I think he's going to kind of be a little bit of a presence out there at the stripe against Tucci Maine on that final game against the Cannons. Still have 3 coins remaining. I can have a little flexibility if I choose to do so, but I kind of like the way my lineup is looking right now. What you got for fantasy?
Last week I was not so great, so I'm trying to bounce back on that, and I think I did a pretty good job this week. I went Zed for 25. I thought that was a nice way to kind of go with someone that I know is going to be a part of the offense and have a solid chance to pop off without hitting me over the head, because I'm going with Kieran McCardle to hit me over the head with 48. So I needed something to balance it out. I went kind of lower in the midfield, Graham Bundy at 21.
Oh, that's not bad.
Who we've been standing about over the last few weeks. And then Grant Amen at 37. Witcher at 13. I think defense is probably where I sacrifice the most and always go kind of like really low. Because like sometimes you get a steal with D, but for the most part, you're looking more at guys who are scooping up ground balls and may get an assist or goal here or there. And then I went Kirsty game 1 because we cannot deny that the Redwoods have the worst shooting percentage in the league right now. So why wouldn't I go with the goalie going against that offense? And maybe it's some reverse psychology and the Woods come out and just deuce on me, and I'm fine with that too. That is a win-win for me. And then Joe Nardella at 21 going up against Sis. He's been great. Sis had a good week last week, but he has been on the rocker. So
just further proof that you're a Joe Nardella guy.
Yes, I'm a Joe Nardella guy. I kept telling you.
I need that drop once I get the new board. I'm a Joe Nardella guy.
The amount of buttons on that board that are just going to be sayings of mine is going to be ridiculous.
We need 2 friends to do a remix and the drop just be, I'm a Joe Nardella guy. Just RJ losing his mind at an EDM concert to it.
Electric.
Last bit here as we react to one-on-ones brought to you by our pals over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. I'm sure Deej had his Tomahawk Shades on when he was coaching against Mark McNeil this past weekend. I'm wearing my sunglasses and blue light glasses all the time. It's a holiday weekend. I'm sure you're all going to be out by a pool, outside, put on the projector screen to watch the PLL. Put your sunglasses on. Put your blue light glasses on. Protect your eyes. And why are you going to do it? By spending $500, $600, $700+ on a pair of sunglasses that you're going to lose. They're going to get broken. Someone's going to throw them in the pool. They're not going to be as effective anymore because those big eyewear companies, they're just worried about style and not effectiveness of protecting your eyes, like Tomahawk Shades is, for a fraction of the price and even better quality. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store, Google Play Store. And when you go to checkout, use code USP for 25% off your order from our friends at Tomahawk Shades. That's 25% off with code USP at tomahawkshades.com or in the Tomahawk Shades app. And right now, you can grab your free 4th of July mystery pack. There's only 100 available. It's a free VIP 4th of July mystery pack in the app. It is in the Tomahawk Shades app, so go check that out. tomahawkshades.com. Use code USP for 25% off your order. Deej, we watched one-on-ones. Before, it's been a while since we've reacted to one-on-ones on the show. And my biggest takeaway from it was, one, allegedly, the PLL has a big announcement coming on the 4th of July. So by the time you guys are listening to this, you'll already know what that announcement is. But somebody asked if they ever planned on bringing fireworks back to an Outlaws weekend. And the short answer was yes, which is very fun and exciting to hear some schedule flexibility potentially moving forward for the league. Because obviously the ultimate goal is to have home and away schedule and all that kind of stuff. But very fun that is in just the current mindset of the league and figuring things out. But it was a lot of good information on that episode of one-on-ones for sure. What did you take away mostly? I think the three big topics were potential like PLL academies, like youth academies similar to professional soccer. Somebody asked about a chapter in Paul's book when it comes to defensemen. Shout out 22 Terry. And then obviously the Outlaws 4th of July question, which was the one that piqued my interest the most, just from a historical standpoint of the league and everything. And, you know, that being a game that a lot of MLL players looked forward to, whether you were home or away, and just playing in front of such a huge crowd at Mile High. It would be awesome to see Mile High packed out for a PLL weekend again, if that ever comes to fruition. But what did you take away from one-on-ones?
I guess we'll start with the fireworks thing going into that weekend. Obviously they're going to have fireworks on 4th of July weekend, wherever that is. But I thought it was really cool that they're looking for ways to incorporate the community. Like, excuse me, Jacob, who asked that question, brought up how there weren't many games that the Outlaws sold out, but they sold that one out. And it was something that the community liked to do. So like they expressed interest in going back to doing that and trying to have a July 4th game in Denver. That's just tying back into the community and what they like to do. And really picking this goes back to like the markets they chose. This allows you to pick up on the history those markets already set and just expand upon those. If people are used to Denver having a, 4th of July show, bring it back. People are then going to tie into the Denver Outlaws more, even if it is just for that one weekend. Okay, we got to sell out that one weekend, and then we try and get them to continue to come back in other ways by making that weekend outstanding. And I think it just shows that they're on the right track in trying to incorporate the quirks of each community and each market that they've gone into and find ways to make people be happy that the PLL is in their market and want them to support the market. So I thought, like, them going long term, like, long answer, yes, we want to do that. But more importantly, like breaking it down that they're trying to find ways to do that, not only in Denver, but across the PLL. I think that's really exciting because it shows that they're thinking beyond just lacrosse fans. I think they've figured out how to market to lacrosse fans and how they want to get it to us and some different ways to do that. But you have to market it to the average person as well. And this shows that they are focused on that just as much as anything else. And they have good ideas. So I'm excited to see some of the things they have coming over the next couple of years for that. As far as the defenseman thing in Paul's book, like, I doubt you're going to see it. He's not a defenseman. But what you're going to see most likely is like ways that he went against defensemen and like how he took what he knew about those guys to his advantage. Or at best, we get this is my experience playing defense as a midfielder, and here's why it's important for you to play both sides and what advantages it gives you as a midfielder. I think that is something we're more likely to see. Or maybe just a couple of defenders that he watched while coming up to learn kind of how to beat guys. But I don't think we see anything that gives you a deep dive on like how to be a defenseman and how to be successful doing so, because no disrespect, but I don't think Paul really knows how to do that considering he didn't play defense.
Yeah.
Just one of those, like, he doesn't have the expertise to say like how to help and write that out in full explanation for defensive guys.
For sure. It was an awesome episode. Definitely go listen to it. If you have the opportunity to, we'll link it in the description too. And also listen to our new Underground Sports Philadelphia project that is coming in the near future. We're working on scheduling and everything, but it is fully announced. It'll be out on the socials by the time you guys listen to this, but it is available in podcast form right now. And that is our Olympics podcast, Deej. Like the Flame, an Olympics podcast presented by Underground Sports Philadelphia. It is an entire company initiative where your favorite Underground Sports Philadelphia personalities will be covering, bantering about, and talking about the Olympic Games, starting with the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics. Myself, Deej, we could probably get Chase and Hoots in the mix as well. Casey, Owen from F1 Underground, Steve from Get in the Hole, Patty Pitts, our resident lunatic, and all your favorite personalities. Christian as well. We're going to be talking all Summer Olympics long on a podcast feed. We're figuring out if it's going to be a live format video-wise or just recorded and uploaded. But let us know in the YouTube comment section what you would prefer. But we're going to be talking all things Olympics. Very excited for it. The link to subscribe is in the description. So go subscribe to Light the Flame and Olympics podcast. And that also brings us to one final point that I don't want to forget to talk about that got announced this week, Deej. The Unleashed Women's Lax All-Stars are back, and they will be participating for the very first time in the PLL All-Star Skills Competition, including Charlotte North, Dana Doby, and for the first time, because I don't think she was at Champ Series because she was still in college, Izzy Skane. Very
I'm
pumped.
excited. I think the PLL just needs to continue to find ways to incorporate them and uplift the women's game. I think lacrosse is one of the few avenues where the men's and women's game truly works together to uplift each other. So I think it's awesome to be putting them on the biggest stage in terms of PLL wise at the All-Star game and allow them to really show off their skills. Most likely what seems to be in conjunction with the PLL. It seems like they're going to be competing against the guys in the PLL. I think that's huge. They definitely have the potential to win a couple of these events, which is going to be a storyline in itself, but women and young girls everywhere would go insane with that. So this just has a blockbuster moment for the PLL and Unleashed and women's lacrosse and all around. This is a full funnel thing that truly benefits everybody that's involved. So go Unleashed.
Yeah, so it's in conjunction.
I want to see them win as many of these competitions as they can.
So the accuracy challenge final will feature the top scoring PLL All-Star and Unleashed All-Star competing for the overall accuracy title. The fastest shot final will feature the top 2 Unleashed All-Stars competing for the women's fastest shot title and the top 2 PLL All-Stars competing for the men's fastest shot title. So we'll have a women's and men's fastest shot champion, which I think is very, very cool. They're also listing on here the relay. Is the fastest player back? Bring it back. Bring it back.
I would be here for it.
I loved our guy Phil Shore saying that if they're competing against each other or if it's a relay with each other, this is the opportunity for Alex Ostholman and Marcus Holman to showcase their talents for the Amazing Race, which sign me up for that.
Is the Amazing Race still running?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I did not know that.
Oh yeah.
I did not
put them on the Amazing Race. Sign me up.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it. But I'm very excited for that. And we are still, because she's been moving and has been traveling like crazy. But we are working to lock in a time to get one of our favorite Unleashed women's lacrosse all-stars, Lizzie Colson, on the show because she has a new book coming out this month, and we want to chop it up with Lizzie. She's one of my favorite people I've gotten a chance to talk to, and it's been in a very limited basis, and it was at Champ Series, but she's the fucking best, and we're working to lock in that schedule to not only talk about her book, but obviously talk about Women's Unleashed, and she's a PLL employee as well and doing all of her camps and everything. She's awesome. I can't wait for that. That's been a long time coming. So once we get the details on that, you'll know when Lizzie Colson's coming on the pod, and she'll be the first women's lacrosse player to be a guest on the show, which I'm very excited about. And it won't be the last either. We got a weekend ahead of us, Deej. Holiday weekend, lacrosse all weekend. Enjoy it, everybody. Be safe. Don't be knuckleheads. Don't do anything Deej and I wouldn't do.
It gives you tons to do.
Tons to do. Be safe, especially if you're going to be around or with fireworks or anything of the nature. We don't want to see anybody getting hurt or worse. Be smart. Use your brains. And enjoy the weekend. Just have good vibes. Hang out by the pool. Just tweet us your setups, your holiday weekend setups for the PLL. We want to see those. And if you're going to be in Boston, tweet us any unique jerseys you see. We want to add to the jersey list. We've got a whole stockpile. And if you saw any from the past couple weekends that we may not have been at, let us know. And also, DJ, I got a DM from him. Evan Sale's going to be on location in Boston taking photos again. So we'll have more Evan Sales photography going for the boy. Very excited for that. Shout out to Evan. He is the best. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod across the board. Follow Deej at SCS_next great. Follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline on Instagram and Twitter. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media and Hoot Sports Photography. Follow me at KBIZZL311 and KBIZZLE11 on Instagram. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. It really does help the show continue to grow. Helps more people find the pod. Keep leaving those reviews. Leave some unique reviews with some fun questions in them. We will read them. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, ring the bell icon, leave a comment down below. Your thoughts on everything we discussed on the episode. We're at 812 subscribers on the channel. Let's get to 900. Let's get to 1,000. Actually, just update 813, Deej. 813. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep the momentum going. Let's get to 900 before the end of the month. I think that's very doable. July's a fun month. Let's get to a new milestone, and then we're on that road to 1,000, which is going to be big time fun. And subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel, youtube.com/@OTBLagsPod. Let's get to 30 subscribers before the end of the weekend over there. We're at 23 right now. Let's build that channel up and get it cooking. Get your merch, phiapparel.co, code underground, 10% off your order. Register for a Shootout for Soldiers premiere weekend. Long Island coming up in a week and a half or so. In 9 days is Long Island. Canandaigua shortly after. Go register. Link is in the description. Shout out to Shootout for Soldiers. They are the best. And go check out their entire schedule of events for the 2024 season. Big shout out to the Boston Battery boys. I'm praying on your downfall in the final game of the weekend, obviously, because it's Philly-Boston. Who doesn't love it? Go Dogs. Let's see if the Woods get back on track. Let's see how that Outlaws Atlas game plays out. And Whips Archers is going to be absolutely electric. Enjoy the lacrosse this weekend. Enjoy the holiday weekend. And this has been episode number 330 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse pod on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Deej, I'm KB. We'll catch you guys next week as we get ready for All-Star Weekend in Louisville, Kentucky. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here. Peace.